What a day. God, it's beautiful out here. Right, Ruby? What do you think? Let's go this way. Come on. Good girl. Wow, what a day. Hey, good afternoon. How's it going? We got a good day out here. It's a beautiful day where I am. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a great day to be outdoors. And I got a signal too. It's unbelievable. Even better. What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday, wherever you are. Hey, as you're coming in, if you're from the US, if you want to share your state or your city, and if you're from around the world, if you want to share your country. And by the way, to those of you who are Christian, happy Easter to everybody. I used to be involved in that when I was younger. In fact, in America, for the kids, we have this thing called Easter egg hunts, where we take eggs, which is a total waste of good eggs, and we either dip them in some sort of color solution or sometimes they use plastic ones and they hide them. And then kids go around with a little basket and find them. It's like a tradition for Easter. And then there's this thing called the Easter Bunny that's supposed to be like some sort of mystical figure. Anyway, this is all the enchantment for children that we all had. Hello from North Carolina. Sorry, I missed the locations. Happy Easter from Australia, New Zealand, New York, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City. That's funny. California. Nice to have you here. Awesome. Good stuff. Hudson, New York. MAGA Trump 2024. America first. I know a lot of people feel that way. I happen to think that Trump, if he's not otherwise, just put it this way, eliminated from being a part of the contest, and I'll leave that to your imagination. Hello from Spain, España. What a beautiful place. I've been to Madrid, been to Barcelona. I love Spain. I would love to live there. My cousin lives in Madrid. You said it was a total waste. Your entire agreed. Oh, somebody here, Doc Stevens. Hey, I take all comments. Doc Stevens 77777 says you said it's a total waste. Agreed. Your entire cult. Interesting. It's interesting that you refer to the people that we talk with as cult. I have all sorts of people on my lives, so I don't know how it's part of a cult, but we'll go with that if you want to. That's fine. Hi from Germany, von Deutschland. Wie geht's? I lived in Germany for 3 years, or 2.5 years, I should say. Yeah, I'm a veteran. That's when I lived in Germany. And then we got deployed to the Persian Gulf in 1990, late 1990. In fact, we landed on the ground in Saudi Arabia, December 24th. I'll never forget it. And it was beautiful walking off the plane. We got off the plane around 4:35 p.m. And it was like, it was just nice. It was peaceful. And to juxtapose the peace of getting off that plane with the mayhem we were about to be a part of, it's very strange. Oh yeah, no problem. I mean, I did it, and quite frankly, I did it to, I hate to admit this, but I did it because I had a scholarship and I kind of had to. I didn't have a choice. When you're an officer in the U.S. Army or other branches, you can become an officer three ways. You can do what I did, which you get commissioned going to college. You receive your commission once you finish your training and your college degree. Or you can go to what's called Officer Candidate School, OCS, and that's when you're an enlisted soldier. You start like going through boot camp, etc. You work your way up to a point, and then you apply for Officer Candidate School. I think those make the best officers. Or you can go to the military academies and graduate. And then sometimes, very rarely in combat, what will happen is if you do something of valor or special leadership, you'll get a field promotion. That's pretty rare, though. And of course, people that do valiant things in combat get the Congressional Medal of Honor. The military is an interesting gig. It's very, very, very different than other parts of life. So for those of you who haven't been in the military, there are a lot of things in real life in America you can do that you can't do in the military. They have a separate justice system called the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So I'll give you an example. In real life, people have affairs. You go down the street, you meet your neighbor's wife, you do whatever you do, and not that I've done that, but if somebody does that, it's not ethical, but it's not illegal. But if you do that in the Army, that's a crime, and you can be charged and sent to jail for that, believe it or not. And people have been. It's just disruptive to the community, right? If you have soldiers, you want to maintain esprit de corps, you want to maintain unity. And if you're down there messing with somebody else's family, that just destroys the unity of the community. So it's very, very much frowned upon. Somebody asked me, what does ROTC stand for? It stands for Reserve Officer Training Corps. And that is the program through which the college graduates like myself go through. And it's a series of, it's like a class you take during college for all 4 years. It's part of your curriculum. And then periodically you go off on these weekend training efforts. And as a part, I was thinking about this the other day. I know protests sometimes get hit with tear gas. It's called CS gas in the inside world of the military. And so, as part of our training, we have this thing called a protective mask. People call it a gas mask, but they make us call it a protective mask. So, as a part of our training for nuclear, biological, and chemical attacks, NBC, they take you into a chamber that's been just absolutely filled with tear gas, CS gas, and they make you take off your mask and count down from like 100 to 70. So you can't leave, you have to stay. And if you don't count down to 70, you fail the whole thing. So you get absolutely just destroyed. It's so bad. And you're coughing and snot's coming out of your face and your eyes are all teared up. And it takes like half an hour just to kind of shake that off. It's a horrific thing to do to people. I don't know why they did that to us, but the Army is not all joy, I can tell you that. And then when I was in Germany, for anybody who cares to hear this, we were a combat unit, so it was a tank unit. And so what to do is they train the hell out of you. So I was there for during the first year I was there, we were put in the field, which means you're not at your home base, either training for maneuvers and just normal combat training, or we were training in gunnery, which is a separate place you go to. And I'm sure people have heard of Hohenfels and Grafenwehr. If you're from Germany, you know where that is. So Hohenfels is the training grounds, and Grafenwehr is the gunnery station. And so we spent 9 months out of the year in those two places. So as far as the training goes, people like myself know how to drive, fire, load, repair, communicate. That's all the stuff you learn to do. Spent 4.5 months at Fort Knox, Kentucky, in what they call Armor Officer Basic School. And then I went to Scout Platoon Leaders course, which is 6 days. You get an hour of sleep a day, and they want to stress you to be under normal, sleep-deprived combat situations and see how you do as far as managing troops. The Scout Platoon is the Bradley fighting vehicles that are on the front edge of the armor battalions. I was in the 3rd Armored Division. We were deployed to Operation Desert Storm in December of 1990, and we left in mid-May of 1991. And we were in contact with the enemy. I was right there. I saw it all. I saw the highway of death, which is why when I saw what happened on October 7th, it brought me right back to being in Iraq. I was like, damn, that looks exactly what we saw in October and Desert Storm. And that's when I heard people say that the H group did all that stuff. I'm like, there's no way. These are Apache helicopters firing, 30 millimeter cannon and Hellfire missiles. That's the only thing that can do that kind of damage to those vehicles. All the bodies that were burned up. You can't do that with RPGs or small scale, what they call firearms. You can't do that. So, they call that small arms. So all these allegations, man, I guess you have to try to make a bad situation that you did look better. But it was just a chaotic day, I believe. But anyway, so that was my military service. Germany was a delight. We lived what's called on the economy. They have barracks usually you can live in for bachelors. I've never been married. But myself and a roommate, we rented a house in the community. It was amazing, man. We lived on this little hilltop overlooking a beautiful valley. And if you've ever been to Germany, in the United States, they build houses everywhere. Like they have all these roads and houses are kind of scattered. It's not like that in a lot of European communities. The way that it's all laid out very well. And this goes back to times when they had, they didn't have vehicles. The United States, in most of its its build out has had some sort of transportation that was more individualized with cars. So that's why it's spread up. And rail and buses, and more so railways, connect all these little areas. So it's like these little clustered towns and then wide expanses of nature in the little clusters. It's really beautiful. And they have beautiful castles. The food is great. The beer is incredible. So if anybody wants to visit a country in Europe, although, with all the changes in Europe right now, there's been a lot of immigration. I apologize for the wind. But I would tell you this. I had a fabulous time in Germany. This was in 1989 through 1992. Much different era. But, Europe's amazing. I got to visit France. I got to visit Holland. I got to visit a lot of cool places. So, it's just I was young. I was, 21, 22, 23. So you just don't give a shit when you're that age. You're just having fun and going out and not a care in the world, right? Except for when you find out you're going to war. They're like, oh, shit. Anyway, It's a sobering experience. You know, and the thing people say, "Well, were you scared?" The only fear I felt was when I first got the orders, and I was just thinking to myself, "Is this how I'm going to die? Is this how I'm going to? This what?" And that's the first thing that runs through your mind when you know you're going to be fighting in a full scale combat potentially. With this isn't a massive military against a group. Well, it's a small group of barely armed people. This is a real army. The Iraqi army was a real army, although it turned out to be a lot less effective than we thought it was going to be. So that was actually good for us, bad for them. But that's where the fear was. And then after I got over that, and once you're on the plane, what can you do? You're there. You're going to be there for whatever happens, and you just kind of let it be what it is. So once I got there, I wasn't scared at all. And what I did was, I remember this so clearly. We were all lined up, getting ready to go into the border. You know, you get in country in Saudi Arabia. You spend about a month just kind of getting everything staged. Your tanks come in off the rails, your other vehicles, you paint them. We were staying in empty hotels. It was really weird. It was almost like in a post-apocalyptic hotel. We were just there, laying on the floor. There was nothing in them. Very strange. And we were eating all the local food. They only had warm soda. It was really weird. None of the soda was ever refrigerated. Anyway, so and then we went up to staging areas and we just sat there waiting for our next set of orders. It was the most boring time of my entire life. I probably read 30 Stephen King books and anything else that was floating around. Just nothing to do. We just sat on our ass. So when we finally got orders to move, it was great. But then we moved up towards the border, and then of course all our vehicles lined up. It was a massive formation. I think it was like I don't know, like 10,000 tanks or something. It was crazy. Anyway, so all these vehicles, armored personnel carriers, Bradley fighting vehicles, Humvees, and M1A1 tanks, were all lined up in this massive line. And I looked to my left, took a picture, looked to my right, took a picture. The vehicles went all the way to the horizon. We were on the Saudi Arabia Iraqi border to the western part of Iraq. And oh my God, man, it was just crazy. So I still have these photos. And then once the combat started, that was it for taking pictures because we had to stay what's called buttoned up, which means you're not allowed to leave. You have to close the hatches on your vehicle so artillery doesn't get you. And one of our soldiers, only one soldier died. It was an older professional soldier. He was what's called an E8, which means he's been in the Army for about 15 years. And he got out of his vehicle. He was in an armored personnel. He put his head out to take some pictures, and an artillery round went off, and he got killed, which sucks. So we lost one soldier out of 5,600 people, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, I don't like to talk about the combat too much. It's pretty messy, pretty ugly. But I will say this, in terms of, civilians or even combatants, the way that the doctrine works or is supposed to work is that if you encounter soldiers and they give up, you don't engage them. You collect them up, you process them as POWs in a humane fashion, treat them with dignity, don't strip them down to their underwear and humiliate them and all that other bullshit the Israelis are doing. And then you put them into areas where they're kept. It's almost like a holding area until they can be processed to different locations. So we spent most of our time on the last days of the combat. It was like 5 days of combat. I'm walking up a big hill too, so I'm going to start huffing. So that's what we did. And so we mainly spent most of our time, corralling POWs. And these poor Iraqi soldiers were all conscripts. We didn't face the Republican Guard, which was their first-rate stuff. So it's like the Golani Brigade for Israel. Anyway, we didn't face them. We faced the regular army conscripts. And the Iraqi government, this is crazy. They put their soldiers in these areas with their tanks and stuff. They had Russian tanks like T-72s, and they were not as good. And they put mines behind their soldiers so they couldn't surrender and leave. They were forced to stay in their positions. Pretty rotten stuff. So a lot of them got unalive, which sucks. Saw all that stuff, pretty bad. And then, we spent most of our time people just gave up. They didn't even try to fight, which was good. So in terms of the wars that the U.S. has fought, probably that war was the most tepid of the major wars, where very few casualties, relatively speaking, were sustained by the U.S. I never talk about this, but it just came up, so I did. Hello there. Let me just show the dogs here. We're hopping up a big hill. A lot of these are on the way down, right? This is a famous place that I go hiking all the time. I'm on a TikTok live, but I'm trying to keep you out of the frame. No, you're good. I just don't want you to be in there. I want to show the doggies. You know how dogs are. It's always the sniff. Great day, though, huh? It's really beautiful outside. I like those leggings. They're cool. Very cool. All right, up the hill, Ruby. Come on, we had a break. Have a nice day. A lot of good people out here. This is a hill that I walk up periodically. It's really good exercise because there's something about walking up a steep hill. Nothing gets your lungs sort of deep where you can't just out of breath. It's just, and if you wear weights, that's even better. But I'm past that point. Anyway, when I was younger, I used to work with a trainer, and he worked with the Ravens, the football team that's in town. So Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharp and Ed Reed, you probably heard those names before, used to come out to this hill that I'm walking on. We would take 50-pound medicine balls, and you throw it in front of you, run up and get it. Throw it in front of you, run up and get it. It was horrific. And then you repeated it like 6 times after going up like 50 yards. But I used to be able to do that shit. Not anymore. That was when I was like 28 or 30. And now I'm 56 going on 57. So that shit's in the rearview mirror. Anyway, I've been talking without looking at the comments, so I apologize. Once I get to a little bit after the steepnesses, I'll look back. Damn, this is a lot of work. I used to be in way better shape. But because of my Gulf War problems, that's the other thing I don't make. I don't want to be a complainer. Everyone has it way worse than I do, but the Gulf War shit does catch up to you, and it's really bad. It's neurological stuff, and it just makes you feel like shit all the time. So you have to kind of just force yourself to work through it, and it is what it is. Take like pain medication and just try to meditate and just deal with it. Luckily, I can talk, but man, my cognitive abilities are so messed up in terms of like organizing my thoughts and day-to-day routines. It's just like somebody let off a stick of dynamite and just blasted my brain. It's just a mess, unfortunately. And I have friends who went through the same thing I'm going through. They progressed earlier, and one of my friends hung himself. He just couldn't take it anymore. And I know exactly how he feels or how he felt. It just wears you down. But life is beautiful even in the worst of circumstances because nature is just, even if the people are doing crazy shit, nature is just the most beautiful thing. And we're just lucky to have it. Anyway, that's how I feel. So anyway, I don't know. There's something about getting out away from the built up areas and just immersing yourself in this. And usually I do it without my cell phone. It's just today, I don't know, when you get an itching to talk to people and just interact. I live by myself, and I don't have a whole lot of social connections. It's just not part of who I am. But I have a really good set of neighbors that are actually moving out. And gosh, am I going to miss them. They are such kind, sweet, basic human beings. And the reason they're leaving is because the management company of the building I live in, they don't police any of the noise people do. So the person above them was like dropping 50-pound weights on the floor at like 1 in the morning. And they called the management company. The management company said, call the police, call the police. And I had the same problem with my next door neighbor. She was banging on my wall anytime I did this at night. Like it's like 7 o'clock and she started banging on the wall. I'm like, what the fuck? So I called the company, I wrote an email, and they told me to call the police. So they just don't do anything about that. So I think like 6 different tenants have left in the last 6 months just because of that stuff. So I'm trying to deal with it. It sucks when you have a crazy neighbor though. But as I say, it's a lot worse elsewhere. These are what they call first world problems, right? Wah, wah, wah. No big deal. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to start looking at the comments now that I've crested this hill. Look at this. Look at that view. Let me see if I can get closer for you. It's amazing, isn't it? And this hill, when it snows out here, little kids come out here with their toboggans or little sleds. I don't know if I can get that tilt back. Anyway, it's pretty cool. This is a great place to hike. Take the dog out. She loves it. Now, she may start going after deer, in which case she starts making that huge howling noise. I may stop before we reach that section because it just makes the life impossible. Okay, let me look at some comments here. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in the Mid-Atlantic region. And man, I tell you what, it's nice to see different parts of the world, but they have four distinct seasons here where I live. And so you get spring, summer, fall, and winter. And I like each one for its own reasons. And if I went to a place, that's a lot of people like the warm weather like California, Hawaii. I love that too. But man, there's something about the change of seasons and the cyclical nature of how that works with the rhythm of life. And I just like that. I don't know if you all can relate to that. There's something really magical about that. And I was just thinking today, we all know we have mortality. All I want in life, in terms of what happens next, I just want to make it into the ground. I do not want to have that crazy shit pumped into my body and stuck in a steel box in a concrete. That's absurd. So anyway, not to talk about dark stuff, but these are the things that cross my mind. This is why I probably have mental problems. Anyway, let me decline this person. So I tried to get on a couple of pro-Israeli lives earlier. I don't know if anybody saw me. And, the same old routine, just personal attacks. I wish these folks would allow a reasonable debate to occur. But I think the reason why they don't is because they know deep down that what the country they support is doing is not right. And God forbid somebody who's articulate and knowledgeable comes up to challenge them. They'd rather just avoid that and attack you personally, which is too bad. But the cool thing about doing a live, being a host, is you can kind of create I was thinking about this today as I drove up here. You can kind of lead by example. You don't even have to say anything about it. You just kind of be civil and decent and kind. And yeah, if somebody's being a complete jackass, you put them down. You don't want to have that. But it gives people a chance to do the same. And I've had people in my comments, which I really appreciate, by the way, people have messaged me who say things like, I totally disagree with you on every single point that we talked about, but I have to tell you, you treated me fairly, and I thank you for doing that. So that's nice to hear. And I got to tell you, I've never been able to share that message with others because they just don't go there. I hope they do. But someone did, by the way, somebody did. I don't know if you saw this. Somebody did. I said, I'm happy to come up and talk. I mean, they were just bashing me. I recorded it, actually, so I may make a video out of it. But they were just relentlessly bashing me for everything, calling me an anti-Semite and a racist, well, the whole 9 yards. And so I said, I tell you what, I'll come up, clear the panel, anti-Semite and racist, well, the whole 9 yards. And so I said, I tell you what, I'll come up, clear the panel of all the haters, and I'll talk to one of your friends once at a time. But I never bring them up. And why is that? Because I want to hear what somebody believes and what they say. I don't really give a shit. I mean, I listen to people like Nick Fuentes. A lot of people say he's a complete, marginalized. I listen to Alex Jones sometimes. I listen to all sorts of people, Stu Peters, and people condemn you for just, why are you platforming? Why are you, dude, get over yourself. I'm a big free speech advocate, if you don't know. And I think free speech should be, if you hate what somebody says, like let's say you're listening to Charles Manson or somebody, you're like, this guy's a whack job. Well, you just get on your thing and you say, hey, this guy's a whack job. And that's it. Good deal. It's done. It cancels it out. But to actively censor people, I am so against that. And here's why. Because if one group supports censorship one day, well, what's to say that your group's not going to get censored if something changes, right? And it's all that back and forth. I just don't want any of that. I think we should have a free dialogue on every subject. I don't know why it's prohibited to talk about certain things. And yet here you're deemed, I've had lives shut down for talking about things like, who might have a lot of control and stuff like that. And I think that's an indisputable objective analysis because it's just how it is right now. But to talk about it is forbidden, unfortunately. So somebody says I'm lagging. Yeah, I'll come out of this area. Sorry about that. My signal's about down to 2 bars. I'll just keep walking the hill and I'll huff and puff. Sorry about that, everybody. I know it's in the wooded areas. It can be a little bit thin on the signal. Is it improving at all yet? I apologize for that because sometimes I go different places and it doesn't perform as well. Okay, yeah, I'm getting to a better spot. Hold on. I'm almost to a better spot. About 5 or maybe about 30 seconds, I'll be in a good spot. Okay, can everybody hear me now? Should be a little better. I have 3 bars now. Okay, somebody says I can hear him fine, y'all. Thank you. Hey again. Hi. Enjoy your walk. My signal doesn't work about 100 yards past here, so I gotta go back this way. But enjoy your walk. So I was also on somebody's live yesterday, and I just ask them I like to ask simple questions and give people, I don't demand. Sometimes you go to live and they demand you answer it. They ask you a yes/no question, which is of course very confining, and they go, tell me yes or no. And one guy yesterday says, shush to me. And I was just trying to answer what he asked me. I'm like, I gotta go. This is not a respectful person. And this was a young guy. Listen to what he said. I found this very funny. he made the claim that most people who support the Palestinian cause are younger, and they're indoctrinated in college by their pro-Palestinian professors or whatever, liberal. And he said most people turn more conservative as they get older, and they'll just learn the truth as they get older about Israel. I said, dude, if somebody learns the truth, they're going to be 10 times more passionate about the Palestinian side of this, because the truth reveals all the horrific things that Israel does. It's horrible. And hold on, dog. Hey, hold on. I'm smelling some other dog. Did you decide who you will vote for? In the federal elections, I rarely vote in them. In this case, there's only one person that I would vote for this cycle. I don't know if people have seen her on my lives. Her name is Diane Sayre. She's out of the state of New York, so I'm not a New York resident. I cannot vote for her. But locally, I have mixed feelings. The senators the same senator that went down to see the Rafah border crossing is one of the senators that is from my state, and the senior senator is Ben Cardin, and they're both traditional Democrats. I think Chris Van Halen's a good guy, but he goes along with the party line on a lot of things just because you kind of have to. And we know the Democratic Party is corrupt as hell, and it's mainly the leadership of the parties, the ones who are dealing with the money. The leaders of the parties deal with the money. They collect up all the donations and they decide who's going to get what money for their campaigns. And it's the campaign committees and the senior leaderships of each party, the minority leader and the majority leader, that are the most corrupt people, along with, of course, the president, the speaker, that kind of stuff. And these people are chosen. If you think that we choose them, you got a whole other thing coming. These people are owned by the oligarchy, the corporate class, and their hands are tied by the internal mechanisms of the national security state and the war machine. And that's just unfortunately the place we are. And if you're somebody that comes in and tries to shake up that boat, you get targeted. And that's the thing I think got Trump. Because Trump, if you don't know, I don't think he's a dumbass. Everyone says he's an idiot and whatever. I don't think he's stupid. I think he's incredibly adept at certain things. He knows how to play people like a big time. And love him or hate him, he tried to push back on some of the national security establishment regarding NATO, as far as the money that flows through NATO. That was sort of an unsettling thing because that upsets the apple cart. And then he also pushed back on some of the operational decision making of the intelligence community. That's not something that's welcome. They like to just do their thing. Hey, Mr. President, give us the rubber stamp, shut the hell up, get away. And that's what most presidents do. They're weak kneed, get along, go along types. Barack Obama being, just a complete sellout. And but Trump wasn't a complete sellout, although I do think he says a lot of things about helping the average person, which is just absurd. But he's convinced people that he's for them, and he's a masterful communicator in terms of creating inflammatory, divisive rhetoric, which a lot of people love because they kind of enjoy pissing off liberals. But of course, people on the left hate it because all he does is rile up what they think are a bunch of morons, the so-called deplorables, right, that Hillary Clinton said. And that divisiveness, I tried to go on the live today where that was going on. People were just absolutely hating on each other about Trump, his charges, all that stuff like that, which I believe is all politically motivated. If you look at how it's come to be in the schedule, it's all meant to debilitate his ability to campaign. I don't want anybody to go through that. I don't care if you like or hate Trump. If they did that to Biden, I would be against it. But either way, I don't believe it makes much of a difference in the end. Obviously, if you're female and you want the rights to reproductive freedom, and somebody at the federal level distorts that away from what you want, that's a big issue. I get that. So I don't want to dismiss some of the social issues that matter most to people, so don't think I'm that way. But what I would say is that for those fundamental things that really are the bedrock of our system, financial system, banking, national security state, war machine, tax policy, lobbying, corporate influence, blah, 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 those things are set. And no matter who you vote for, what you do, how you protest, what taxes you don't pay, which companies you don't support, that shit ain't changing. That shit ain't changing. If you think your vote has any influence on that, that's why I don't vote at the federal level. It's just a waste of time. As I like to tell people, I like to go outside my building, stare at the brick wall, and just scream. And I get a lot more satisfaction. I get a lot more utility out of that versus going to the polls. Now, local elections are different. Mayoral elections and sheriff elections and stuff like that, those people have real impact at your local level. So I usually get involved in those. And if there's local ballot issues like initiatives, referendums, stuff like that, I worked on one for, I think, 7 years before it passed. Now, you may remember that California was the very first state in the union that passed a ban on smoking indoors. The only exclusion was private clubs. But if you had a public facility like a bar or restaurant and you were open to the public, you could no longer allow people to smoke indoors. It's called the Clean Indoor Air Act. I was a 100% proponent of that because I don't smoke, and I'm not trying to make life tough for smokers. I mean, I understand people smoke and they enjoy smoking and drinking. I know that's sort of a thing that people really like, that and drinking coffee. And more power to them. If that's what you enjoy, do it. But the problem with smoking is that the secondhand smoke is proven to cause problems, not as much as being the primary smoker, but maybe in some cases, depending upon how frequently it's ingested. Because remember that if you're smoking, you're not constantly smoking. You smoke maybe a pack a day or a half pack a day. And so you're only ingesting nicotine and the other, accompanying problematic substances as you're doing it. But somebody who works as a bar or restaurant server, bartender, they're consuming that stuff 24/7 while they're at their job the whole time. And so they're getting more of it, even though it's just a peripheral smoke. And so, from a health standpoint, it really, listen, I understand people want their freedom, but if your freedom is fucking up somebody else's health, that's not a good trade-off. And so I think smokers, I think the other thing is people that come into those bars or restaurants, you leave there, your clothes are like polluted. And I absolutely couldn't stand that. I liked going to bars to watch like sports or a UFC or stuff like that. And you just can't enjoy it because you're just smoked out. So, and I also used to play blackjack professionally, and it was just on the tail end of the Nevada rules when I was out in Vegas, early 2000s. And they had smoking in the casino. So I would sit at a table and try to play blackjack. I'm like, Jesus Christ, three people would light up cigars or cigarettes next to me. I'm just like, are you serious? So I'd have to move around a lot. So it just sucked. So that was one of the reasons why I stopped playing. I just couldn't stand that. But you can make money doing that. But anyway, getting back to the smoking ban. So in Maryland, I worked on a local initiative. It was called, my email address at the time was no smoke in bars at Comcast.net, which was the provider at that time. That's no longer in place. So that was my email. So I get into stuff, and when I get into stuff, I hit it hard. And so I used to stand outside at this annual arts festival or other public events with a sign, and it said, "Sign here if you want smoke out of bars and restaurants." So I had thousands of people come by. So for people like Diane Sayre in New York, this is the brute force you have to use to get democracy. You have to stand outside and deal with people face to face. You can't just click on an email object and go, "Oh, I'm done." So that's the actual political process. And so I think over the course of the 7 years, we got like 160,000 signatures. And so we took these petitions to the court each year, and the Restaurant and Bar Association was absolutely opposed to this because they're the ones making money off selling the shit. And they get money from big tobacco and big alcohol, whatever. And so for 7 straight years, they defeated it. And finally, after 7 years, they relented and passed a law here. So we no longer have smoking indoors, thank goodness. And in some states, I would go into their grocery store, like in the Southwest or Southeast, and they had smoking in the goddamn grocery store. Imagine going in to get groceries and people are just smoking everywhere. This is how it was for a long time in this country. Tobacco was a regular thing in society. If you go back and watch old TV shows, in fact, like Jeopardy or Meet the Press, or whatever, the guys are smoking. Some people were smoking a pipe. Most of them were smoking cigarettes. It was very common for people to smoke in school. My dad smoked in college. He went to Princeton, and he smoked for like 35 years. And he said it was just everybody smoked. Like I think in class, like 75 or 80% of the class smoked. Can you imagine going to a classroom, you're trying to pay attention to a teacher, and people are just smoking you out? That had to suck. Okay, I've been yammering for a long time. I'm just doing a stream of consciousness live, which I apologize for. Let me give you a view of this close up of this view. It's just incredible. I absolutely love coming here. In fact, if I was half decent at golf anymore, I used to be good. I would just hit a ball off of here and watch it fly 500 yards down the hill. That'd be fun. By the way, when I was in Germany, I came home to visit the United States. I was in an airplane, a section that was the quote unquote smoking section. I was dead in the middle of it. And after we got up to about 25,000 feet, they turned off the no smoking sign. And every single person next to me, except for me, lit up a goddamn cigarette. Dude, I was in misery. And it was like 5 people to my left and 5 people. It was very hard to get in and out of the seats. They didn't have them spaced out. And it was just brutal. That's all I can say. It was brutal. Somebody says they don't mind smoking. You know what I do like? When somebody first takes a match pack, which is hardly, you don't see that much now, but when they used to have packs of matches, that sulfur mixed with the starting of the combustion at the end of a cigarette, that actually smells good. I don't know why. I kind of like that smell. But it only lasts for like, I don't know, like 2 seconds. And then it's just awful. So I tried smoking when I was like 15. I tried like, it made me feel sick. And then I also tried dipping, that stuff you put in under your lip, and that, it's like nicotine. And that stuff is, oh my God, I got so sick off of that, man. I think I did something called Copenhagen. It's like that wintergreen taste. Holy shit, that stuff was horrible. I don't know how people can do that. It gives you like mouth cancer, throat cancer. And it's disgusting. You have to carry a spit cup with you, and some people will accidentally drink your spit cup thinking it's like Coca-Cola. It's awful. I don't know if anybody else has been around somebody who dips, but it's very addictive. Hey, come on, dog. His dog is trying to get me. What are you doing, dog? You're going crazy, aren't you? Let me get your leash up from under you. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Stay there. I know you're having fun. Stay there. There we go. Okay. Come on. Come on. Look at her. Come on. Come on. Come on, dog. Come on. Oh, well, not too fast. I can't run that fast downhill. Damn it, you're killing me. Yeah, she's a lot of fun to play with. Somebody says that smoking helps with depression or dipping. Hey, whatever. Listen, I'm all for. And I just had to deal with this with a friend of mine today. A good friend of mine who happens to be Jewish. For those of you out there who think I'm an anti-Semite, one of my close friends who has a great family that are unfortunately going through a difficult period. He's going through some legal stuff. I'll just leave it at that. And he, as a part of his sort of self-medication, uses certain substances that I don't think he uses them in excess. He just does little bits here and there, almost like people do microdosing of this, that, and the other, or even can't, whatever it's called, the Cheech and Chong enjoyables. I can't say the word. So people do those things, and sometimes it's not prescribed or it doesn't have a doctor's approval. It's just something they've stumbled upon in their past, and that's what helps them. So they do it. I am 100% for that. If something makes your life better, your quality of life, I don't think the government should get in the middle of that. It's like, dude, just if that makes somebody's life better and they're not out of control, just back the fuck off. But unfortunately, when the legal system focuses on your family and they add in that, which is not necessarily legal, it just brings up a whole can of worms for people because the older, less knowledgeable members of the legal system, it's for whatever reason that DRUG word comes in, and if it's not legally prescribed, it just makes you look like a bad dad, like you're not being your best for your shit for your kids. And so when you add in something like a messy house and that, the wife can point to that, and then the judge will say, "Oh, hold on, why are you doing this, so and so? You have to go to get treatment or whatever." And the person probably has no problem in terms of like addiction. It's just that they have found something that kind of gives them sanity. And listen, I want people to have good quality of life, whatever it takes. If somebody has to go the Al Pacino route, and that's what makes their life better. If it makes your life better, who gives a shit? Because who are we to say what somebody else should do with their life? I believe. Again, it's like free speech. You may not agree with it, but let them do their thing. It's not harming you. Now, if it starts to harm you, like the smoke, or they drive into a tree, or drive into your kids, okay, that's different, right? But if it's just them in their home, who cares? It's like sexual stuff. Let somebody be Rabbi Shmuley. If you want to sell whatever Rabbi Shmuley does, let him do it. Who gives it? It doesn't affect you. People are gay or transgender. Who cares? Anyway, that's how I feel. Live and let live. And people have their reasons for doing what they do. We may not agree with them as long as they're not hurting people. Now, like what Israel's doing, that's hurting people. So it's a whole different thing. Okay, we have two guests that are here. We have Zena and 777. So I'm going to bring up the guests. And I'm sorry that I chatted so long today. Sometimes I just get these little bursts of stream of consciousness. And we have Zena and we have 777. Hi, Zena. How are you?
How are you?
I'm okay. I hope you'll forgive me for my blathering today, but here we are.
Yeah, I know. I get it. But when you said Rabbi Shmuley, whatever his name is, and what
Yeah.
his this is, like, come
Let me put this. I should have prefaced it. I do not like Rabbi Shmuley at all. And I know that Candace Owens was critical of him for his family business his daughter runs. I have mixed feelings about that because I understand her argument. But my point is, if people's lives can be improved by that crazy stuff, I don't think it's moral.
on.
I'm just for
Possibly,
people being.
yeah.
I'm for people being happy. How do you
Do
feel? Do you think it's immoral to sell those products? Do you think it's immoral
I think it's, sorry, immoral to?
to sell those products that enhance people's bedroom experiences, like those products that they sell?
I mean, I don't think you should call yourself a rabbi if you're going to do that.
Fair point.
But also, like, there's videos of him, like, kids in his lap or that kind of stuff, and I think that's beyond weird. So that's where the line is drawn for me.
Okay. Now, what do you think of Rabbi Shmuley in general? Does he appeal to you? Do you think he's too crazy? What do you think about him?
I think he's very eccentric and strange, and I think the word rabbi is used very easily these days.
Now
Like,
he's made
how about
allegations
him?
that he thinks Candace Owens is like this raging anti-Semite. He even did this video recently where he dressed up in this like crazy costume with a looked like a chicken's nose or something, and he wore a T-shirt that had he had a soda, some kind of cup in his hand. He said he's drinking Christian blood or some crazy video. What did you think of that? Did you see that?
I saw something like that, but I think that's really embarrassing for him and for his people, the Jewish people, as opposed to me. For me, it's more like you're giving ammunition to people to hold against you, to be honest, because you're not doing your people any good. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. I think after watching, I'll just call him Shmuley. After watching Shmuley on different interviews, like on Piers Morgan's show with people like Cenk Uygur or other representatives of the pro-Palestinian side, the word I would use is he's completely unhinged and detached from reality. That's how I feel about him.
Yeah, and people can do what they want. Like, fine, sell what you want, but don't call yourself a rabbi, because I don't think that's what Judaism or, I don't think Judaism is about that, as far as I know. So
Now, have you seen the interviews he's done on Piers Morgan with some of the guests that
I
you
did.
know
I
he's
watched it. I watched that interview.
So did you think the way I saw it was he would use inflammatory sort of personal attacks as I've talked about today, calling people things like anti-Semites just because they say things that they oppose Zionism or the actions of Israel vis-a-vis Palestinians, which seems like a big deflection tactic. Do you think that's a deflection tactic, or do you think he really believes that they're anti-Semitic?
No, I think it's deflection for sure. I think it's his way to. I don't mean to be rude, but I feel like it's now an easy way out for a lot of people to just be like, "You're anti-Semitic. That's it." You know.
Hmm.
I really hate to say it, but I'm not really sure he's even a Semite. Like, where are you from? I'm a Semite. Are you a Semite?
Yeah,
Do you
that's a fair point.
Like, this is really, really something that comes down to the point where it's like, we know where Semites are from. If you're Polish or European of some descent, you're definitely not Semite. But the word anti-Semite is now being equated to anti-Jewish, and that's
How,
really,
how did they hijack that term? When did that start to happen? I don't know the history of that term.
I think it was like recently. I mean, by recently, I mean in the late I don't know, 21st century. I
Well,
really,
I'll tell you this. I can tell you this. I went to a ski trip once with my school teacher. He was a math teacher. His name was Harry Goldberg, and he was a perfectly nice guy. He was Jewish, and he said that word while we were driving to a ski trip. This must have been what was that? What grade was that? It's like seventh grade. So that's back in 1974, no, 1976. It's like 1977 or 76 that I heard that. So at least it has to go back at least to then.
well,
After somebody's
I
saying it's after
find,
the age crossed. Somebody
I,
here they're saying
I
after
find,
1945 it was termed
hmm,
in the comments.
I don't know. I think I coined the whole, as a joke, by the way. This is in jovial context. I think I coined the Islamophobe kind of anti-Islam Islamophobia kind of thing when
Uh-huh.
I was, I don't know, like what, 7 years old, when my teacher would like literally like didn't exist back then, but my teacher
Hmm.
would literally pick on me all the time. So I was like, you just hate Muslims and you just this and that, and that was like about 30 years ago. So I really like, as a joke, I think I coined the term Islamophobia.
After 9/11 in the United States, there was ruthless pushback on anybody who was at least somewhat appeared as a Muslim, and people were being harassed and threatened and actually, attacked just
Yeah.
because they thought that somehow they might have a relationship to the mentality of what happened with the Twin Towers and the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. So that seems terribly unfair, and I think it's unfair for people who don't like what's happening in Israel or with Zionism to assume automatically that somebody whose name or whose appearance looks like they may be Jewish to just assume and be mean to them or do other things. I hope you feel the same. Is it okay if we let 777 come in for a second while you remain on the panel, Zena?
Sure. Can I ask you a personal question?
You may. You may.
Do you have ADHD?
Probably bigger than most. Yeah, probably. I think. Well, just on a medical basis,
I
people don't
think
like to
I
share
do.
their.
I think I
Well,
do, but I'm just like
people don't like to share their medical history, but because of the Gulf War stuff, I'm trying to prove that to get benefits. But the neurological changes that I've encountered have created like sort of a swinging of my moods at times, which is called, I think, bipolar. They call it.
yeah.
But I probably also have a good streak of the
No, I mean I have
ADHD
it.
as well.
I think I have ADHD, but I was just like wondering. Sorry to ask.
No, it's okay. I'm an open book about everything. If people want to judge me, judge away. I'm just going to do what I got to
No,
do.
there's
Thanks.
no judgment there
No,
whatsoever.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying others that might criticize me for sharing that. Not
Well,
you.
they're idiots then. Sorry.
It's all good. No, it's all good. It's all. I'm an open book. I don't care. Okay, thanks, Tina. I'll leave you up if you want to stay. Please do, and I'm going to let
Yeah, leave
seven
me
seven
out,
seven.
please.
Okay, thank you.
Never mind.
Welcome 777. How'd you pick that name?
How you doing? Happy Easter. I don't know if you celebrate.
Yeah, happy Easter to you and everyone who does.
Um, I just wanted to come up quickly. I've seen a number of your lives now. And I was just curious for your take on what you would like to see happen next. Because I always hear, like in all of these lives, everyone's debating each other about what's happening now and what's happened
Yeah.
previously. But I'm curious um, what you would like to see happen in the future, ideally.
Well, as an American and somebody who's not a part of Palestinian background, I kind of think
Uh,
it's a
uh,
little bit ego.
as I am as well, so
Yeah,
I
for me. I
appreciate
think
that.
it's a little egotistical for me to kind of put my 2 cents in. But with that having been said, I think what everyone would like to see, just to start out, is just an absolute ceasefire as a starting point. That's step one. Along with getting aid to people, that's sort of step one A. The fact that the Israelis have restricted that, I think, is absolutely unbelievable. That now, step two, there's going to be some sort of resolution between the parties. I think that the Israeli point of view, and if Netanyahu is successfully reined in, which it appears he's starting to catch a little bit of flack for all this, thank God, and sort of looking at himself a little bit more so than before. But that's the wild card. But if that does happen, the question is, what are they willing to accept? Because they do have the upper hand, being supported by the United States and with the hard right government. So that leaves us with what they're going to try to do. Now they have said that they're going to try to negotiate something with the H group, so that's encouraging. But I know that the Israelis are trying to get a situation where the H group no longer has any authority in Gaza with whatever the next stage of this is going to be. Now I did see a video today. Somebody tagged me in it, which just disgusts me, of Israeli soldiers driving through Gaza on the beach and just planting Israeli flags as if it's now their territory. They're going to annex it. I don't know whether that's going to happen politically or legally, but it appears that they might have some plan to divide the north and south part of Gaza, making the permanent residents stay in that half if they don't take the whole damn thing. So I think that's bad, and I think the U.S. has said that none of Gaza should be under Israeli control, but they may just do a full-scale occupation while the north is being rebuilt and do their silliness like they've been doing in the West Bank, and then let settlers come in and play that game. So it's the long, slow, steady, you know, acquisition of property and the violence and somewhat and then retaliation. That's been the case, and I think that's going to continue in whatever structure comes out of this, unfortunately.
Can I just ask about the H group in Lebanon and what's been happening there?
Yeah, just real quick, Zena. This is administrative, and I do this a lot. So someone named violating TikTok Lemkin. Yeah, I did not drop you. What happens is on some of the lives when guests try to come up, it like times out. And so that's a TikTok thing. Usually, the way to fix that though is if you go out of TikTok entirely. Sometimes reset your data, like go into airplane mode, come back, then come back in, and then request it fixes it. Okay, you weren't dropped. Okay, please continue, Zena, or whoever was saying that.
Yeah.
Real quick,
Sorry,
hold on a second.
I'm
Hold on,
asking.
just real quick. I'm sorry. This is another administrative thing. We try to be polite here to everybody, and so we use words like please and thank you and be polite. Not that it's an absolute deal, but if you want to come up and you say bring me up, that's kind of a demand. So if you can say, can I please come up? Then I'll happily bring people up. So I'll bring you up this time, but please don't. If you're going to ask to come up, please do it in a way that you'd want to be asked.
I'm
Yeah, I
glad
guess.
that's not targeted
Fair enough.
towards me.
Okay. So
No, I always say please and thank you. I was just asking, what do you think about the current kind of, I don't know, what's happening with the H group in Lebanon at the moment and the advances and You know, the latest, the
You're
latest one.
talking about the Hizbies, right? Hizbi.
If you want to call them that, yeah.
Yeah. So I
So,
watched a lengthy documentary today that somebody sent me on the civil war that took place, and of course the 1982 invasion by Israel, and then the subsequent withdrawal. Lebanon has an interesting. It's a very fragmented situation, which I think is what Israel wants and the West wants. But I think there's good unity among the backers, the proxies, as well as the militants, and they're a formidable force. This is not the H group in Gaza. This is a much bigger, stronger, very capable military that has pushed the Israelis back, and they know that. And they know that another war with them would result in mass casualties, and the missiles would not be coming in and taken down by the Iron Dome. They would be landing in Haifa and Tel Aviv and other places that are significantly populated. So
I mean, my
I don't believe it's an
PhD
Israel.
dissertation was literally about them, but I'm literally asking just about one thing. What do you think about the latest kind of what's happened in the last 24, 48 hours, and will that lead to a full-blown war in Lebanon? Because my mom at the moment is in Lebanon,
Oh
and
my.
there have been airplanes, Israeli war jets flying really low, and that's not common unless
Can I
Israel.
just, okay, real quick, I don't think it's going to explode into a full-scale war. That's my point. I think there'll continue to be cross-border skirmishes and things flowing back and forth. But that's a whole other chapter. And I think it depends on, it really depends on whether it's going to be U.S. driven. That's the point. U.S. will put the kibosh on that if they don't want that. If they want it, it will happen. There's somebody in the comments that says, listen, if you want to say snarky stuff, you can. Adulting is blah said he watched one documentary. Listen, I've watched a lot of documentaries on
Oh,
Lebanon
ignore these
and Israel.
comments. It's so
So,
silly.
but it's okay to say it. But no, let me be clear about my position on these issues. So I'm an observer and a commentator. I'm not a scholar or an expert. So I have some life experiences and I have some time spent looking into this. I share that with best of my ability, but I don't claim to be an expert either in military affairs or even in geopolitics. I'm just somebody who tries to talk, and people seem to sometimes enjoy it. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And I think I manage the panels well. So that's all. So if you want to watch an expert, you can watch people like John Mearsheimer, Scott Ritter, Colonel Douglas McGregor. Those are names that I watch when I want to find out more of the specifics. So there you go. Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. Zena, is it okay if we let TW share something?
Yeah, but my question
Is,
wasn't answered.
I don't have an exact answer because unfortunately I don't have a crystal ball to look into the future. So, and when I make predictions, they're almost never right. So I kind of refrain from them. What I try to do is look at how the puzzle pieces are fitting together, and you can look at various scenarios. It's like, well, if then this kind of thing. If this party does
Can I
this,
say one thing before I
yeah,
leave?
yeah, go ahead. You don't have to leave, by the way.
Israeli warplanes are actually flying over really, really low over Beirut at the moment.
Yeah,
I know that for a fact because my mom's there. Does
There's
that,
no planes right now.
if anybody could, you know, put some sort of insight into that, aside from referring to the south, because it's no longer the south, it's central Beirut.
yeah. Well,
So,
first of all, we know that Israel took a drone and they assassinated a key H group leader at a very precisely targeted assassination that only damaged a very small part of the building and killed 5 people. They've also been flying over Syria and bombing their airport in Damascus, as well as other targets, and they've been unaliving civilians there in perpetuity. That just never stops. That's constant. These new developments, as far as them penetrating further north towards Beirut and north in Lebanon, I'm not aware of the propensity of that and the extent of which they're doing bombing and they harm civilians or infrastructure or military targets. So if anybody has information on that, please share it away.
there's
I
no
just haven't
bombings,
heard.
it's just like full-blown war jets flying really low over like Beirut. That's it. It could be fear tactics, it could be anything. So I just thought I'd ask. That's it. Anyways, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here and thanks for sharing that. I hadn't heard that news yet. So, and by the way, I always like to say I'm not a news guy. I try to read it when I can, but some days I just kind of take my brain away from this. And this morning I didn't look at anything yet. So thank you for sharing that. So if you want to, JC says, this is all caps. Thank you for sharing your point, JC. JC, Chip, the guy who comments about Israel yet never saw any footage of October 7th. So, JC, as a favor to the group, if you can just do regular writing instead of all caps, please. And then I'll respond to that real quick before we let TW come on. Thank you for patience. I have seen a lot of the footage. I was not given the full quote unquote documentary that was given to journalists, a select group of journalists. What I have seen is I've seen pieces of it and I've spoken to it directly. For example, I've seen direct images and video of the H group directly engaging civilians. I've seen probably 30 videos of that, which is disgusting and worthy of condemnation and is a war crime, no doubt. Now, what I haven't been able to see, and again, this has angered some people, and I hope it doesn't anger you. I'm not doing it to make anybody angry. And I've talked to this at length, but I'll do it in a quick summary before we bring on TW. I've not been able to get direct evidence. I know there was a recent UN report about this, which alluded to Israeli information. It didn't say they had definitive direct evidence. It was based on the testimony of certain Israelis. But unfortunately, some of that testimony has been debunked because family members who were referenced in these different reports said their daughter was not attacked. And so if somebody claims in a report that so-and-so was attacked and they have evidence and forensic evidence and turns out the person wasn't even involved, what are we supposed to do with that? So what I've been trying to get in good faith, because I have no ability to deny any of the allegations because I don't know. But at the same time, I don't have, and listen, I try to be fair. If there's direct evidence, which was not included, by the way, in the 47-minute compilation that went to select journalists, Owen Jones, who was one of the select journalists, talked about it, and he said that while he did see some of the things that I just mentioned, which were there were more, obviously I didn't get to see all of it, that were very disturbing and very unsettling, he did not see direct evidence of those more egregious allegations, like the widespread use of SA, mutilations, people being put in rooms where there was fire. Now some people did, unfortunately, when there was tanks involved, and we're not sure who did what, when Kibbutzim got hit, things got on fire. I don't know whether it was the H group setting it or if it was the tanks doing it in the response. We're not clear on some of that. So some of it is indeterminate. And I try to be fair about that. People have criticized me for saying, oh, there's evidence of it. We've all seen it on TV. If it's on TV, it's recorded. So I've begged people to send me any evidence that gives me the certainty that would allow me to share that with the audience, which I will do because I need to be fair and objective. But no one's provided it. They send me news articles from the Jerusalem Post saying, oh, this person said this and this. My cousin said she talked to her friend and this happened. That's not evidence. That's what they call in court hearsay. And so I'm trying to get direct evidence, and I know not everything got filmed, so it's hard to get that. So in trying to be fair and objective, I don't know what else people want someone in my position to do, and they're demanding that I sort of acknowledge something. And if it weren't for the fact that Israel has a history of lying about stuff, including people who were released as hostages, then coming back and changing their stories, and all these other things that are laid out a million times over. But then when somebody says, well, trust me, I can't get there. So that's why I talk to it the way that I do. It's not because I'm being disrespectful, and not that I don't believe women when they say it or any of those things. It's just that this is where we are. So I hope that doesn't anger anybody. And the way to stop the anger is to provide the receipts that you're blaming me for not acknowledging, which I'm happy to acknowledge, right? So, which is chipbarnesonline@gmail.com. And if you want to send me more larger files, which are not able to upload through email, you can reach me on my Telegram, which is a free messaging app, free to download, and you can submit it to my name. It's just t.as.in.tom.me, which is everybody's standard connection point, / my name, Chip Barnes, t.me / Chip Barnes. If you have my word, if you send me something, I will not only review it thoroughly, acknowledge it, and if it verifies some of the things that we're talking about, I will report it as such. But absent that, I can't go there. Okay, please, TW. I'm sorry for the wait, TW. Please, what would you like to share? Did I have you muted? I'm sorry.
My mic is off. Right.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't click you on. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm well.
So I wanted to say, first of all, there are no Israeli planes flying over Beirut, at least not today. I've been out and about all day, and they haven't been anywhere near Beirut. Maybe in the south, but definitely not here.
Okay, why do you think the other person came in and made those statements?
I don't know why they say these things. I don't know what's the point of lying about something. It's like saying that yesterday that H group doesn't have hostages. They do. They came out and said it. Like their leaders are saying they have hostages. And like you, I like to be fair and objective when I'm talking. It's not just about our emotions and how we feel about things, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Real quick, I want to address a comment because I think this is an important thing. Somebody here named Larev or Larive says this. I guess the issue I was talking about evidence and acknowledging certain more egregious atrocities that happened on 10/7. This plus being an apologist for Assange makes me disappointed in you. So I just want to address first the Assange thing. I'm sorry you're disappointed. I mean, everyone's got their views on stuff, so I'm certainly respectful of yours, although we may disagree. The reason why I'm supportive of Julian Assange is not because I want information that's valuable to any particular nation state that will cause people harm potentially to get out to the public. I don't believe in this case, and people have verified that what he did involved that. And others have alleged that, but I don't think that's true. I think that's just U.S. propaganda trying to vilify him further, which is a great U.S. tactic. If you look at what the guy did, he was sort of antagonistic. Granted, I can agree with that. He was sort of very, very sort of what's the word? It'll come to me. But he was sort of in your face in terms of how he chose to act and manage information. So he's like, I'm going to do it and F you, which he did. And so he got information. If you don't know the story, there was a video that caught some American helicopters engaging a group of Iraqi civilians during the Iraq War. It was called the collateral murder video. That's what they called it. And it got out to the public. The way it got to WikiLeaks, which Julian Assange was the founder of WikiLeaks, a publishing agency that would accept anonymous contributions to a server, and then they would go through it and dice it up. And if they, by the way, what Assange told the public, by the way, which I believe, is they would omit releasing, they wouldn't release things that they thought would cause harm to people, like intelligence, undercover people, that kind of stuff. They wanted to try to be, at least somewhat decent about it. They didn't want to get in trouble. So, but when he did release certain things, there were a number of cables, like emails, and a number of videos that they released to the public. Julian Assange did not take them. He never went into the CIA and took them, which is what espionage. It's giving things for money or taking it. It was submitted to him by a soldier at the time who felt, that these war crimes needed to get out to the public. A person of conscience, Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning, gave that to WikiLeaks, for which he or she was accused and prosecuted, but then it was commuted by Obama before he left office. Now, Julian Assange has done nothing more than proper journalism. Journalists are so scared now because of what they've done to him that they're very reluctant to like the Pentagon Papers or even what happened in Iraq. They're not going to do that anymore because they see this horrible example that's been made of this man. And even if you don't like him, journalism has to be journalism. For us to have any kind of democracy, we have to have sunlight. And the public deserves to know if the American government is committing war crimes, which it has done in its history quite a bit. But if it does it and it's documented on video, it should be made public, I think. If you don't want to be condemned for bad behavior, don't behave badly. Israel, America, etc. And then the other thing is, in terms of the document, this is what I believe got him in the most trouble. That video was bad, but there were direct conversations that made a lot of people who were totally corrupt look horrible, including Hillary Clinton and others. And that's the group of people who bring down the hammer. They have the real power because they're backed up by the richest people in the world and they do their bidding. So that's what happened. So it's not that I'm an apologist for him. I support free speech in general and free journalism, which we don't have anymore. We have corporate journalism, which is, infotainment at best and censorship by omission and by obfuscation in more likelihood. And so if you don't believe in free speech or you don't believe in free journalism, that's your way of looking at it. But I don't like censorship and I don't like political prisoners' prosecutions for doing legitimate work. That's my viewpoint. We can agree to disagree. As far as the Israel stuff, I just don't know. Listen, I acknowledge everything that I've been able to acknowledge. I think that's fair. If you are disappointed and you have access to the stuff that I'm missing, or I don't have the same information path that has given you the conclusions you have, share it with me. Or we can talk. You can come up and talk, or whatever you want to do. I'm totally open. But it would be irresponsible of somebody who's talking to an audience like this to just automatically acquiesce because people put pressure on you to say, yeah, it happened, we saw it. I don't know, but I'm happy to investigate it. That's all I can say about that. If you think that's unfair, there's all sorts of other people you can listen to that go there and support Israel and automatically accept everything that's said. And you can enjoy their conversations or come up and set me straight. Okay, sorry to interrupt. TW, do you want to finish? I'm sorry, I spoke over you quite a bit.
it's fine. I just want to say I agree with you 100% on both counts, both the Assange issue and the Israel and what happened on October 7 issue, because they couldn't provide any evidence at all that HK did any of this stuff. And I remember you mentioned yesterday somebody telling them that what would get public opinion with them would be talking about SA taking place, and that's when the different stuff started coming out, and that's
I,
true. I've also read this somewhere, and anyway, so the thing is, what I wanted to say today was I've been hearing about plans for settlements, whether it's in Gaza or southern Lebanon, and it's as though like Israel has no idea of what they're doing to their image or to the image of other Jews, unfortunately, because a lot of people just pack everybody together, and so
yeah,
uh, like anti-Semitism is gonna go back up, and they've been working so hard to get rid of that, and it's a pity. People are becoming more and more like um, um, extremists in like on both sides, and I really don't like that. We're supposed to learn to live together, and it's 2024. You can't just not like somebody because of their religion or because of what they're the color of their skin, or
oh boy,
it's
yeah, I
this
agree
is
with you.
people are living in 2024, and they still think that way. Just today, I was listening to a rabbi saying that
Can
anybody.
I? I'm so sorry, TW. I'm not doing this because I don't want. This is administrative. Drink a beer. Ah, deep breath. Okay, what I try to share with people is this is a TikTok thing. Everybody keeps saying they're being dropped. Nobody is being dropped. I never drop people intentionally unless you say something or act like a jackass or make personal attacks. So I want you to come up and share your views. But in order to get into the panel, let me say this one more time. This everybody else who wants to request, please listen to this. I'll say it slowly. TikTok will have users that try to get in and it times out and then it drops you. I have nothing to do with that. It comes up as a little square and has a little circle like your Windows computer and then it just goes away. So to fix that, what you have to do is exit the TikTok app, take your data connection on your phone and drop it down for a second like airplane mode. Bring your data connection back up, let it sync, come back into TikTok and then request. That fixes it 99% of the time. If that doesn't fix it, you have to restart your phone. Okay? I don't drop anybody. Come on back. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please continue
Chip,
to.
Chip.
Just one sec. Just one sec. Just one sec. Let me let TW finish, then I'm happy to have you come in, Federico.
No, about the dropping thing. Uh,
Okay?
because it did happen to me yesterday. But
Yeah.
what I did is when you're on, all you have to do is unmute yourself, mute yourself back a couple of times. Because I think if you're not active, it drops you automatically. That's how I feel. Because earlier I got dropped, and then when I came back, all I did is keep muting and unmuting myself, and I haven't been dropped yet.
Okay. I think the other thing is I've heard this before too, and I forgot about this. I apologize. If you do come up and you get that little box where you have on one side your microphone and the other side your camera, put your phone away from you if you don't want to see. Tap the camera on and then toggle it off, click save, and that usually gets you in. I forgot to say that. So try that too. Thank you for that contribution. Did you want to finish up, T?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you something that I'd seen today. A Republican senator was speaking, and he said something about dropping a nuclear bomb and finishing the job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
basically,
was horrible.
that's horrible. If an Arab had said that, like nobody would shut up about it for the next 10 years. But
Yeah.
because it's American speaking, nobody's talking about it. It's not on the news.
Yeah.
Nobody's offended. And
What happened was, just for the audience, is this, so there was a congressman from Ohio. He's a junior congressman. He just got elected. He's in his first term. And what he said was, this is his words paraphrased, that there should be no aid sent to Gaza. That's off the table. And he said that we should handle this like we did in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, meaning that they should, of course, be hit with an atomic bomb. And that's extremely irresponsible to say, obviously, and stupid because atomic bombs are not limited to the radius in which they detonate. And if you understand how the blast radius works and the fallout and the EMP, which means all your power goes out, it's asinine to say such a thing. So the guy's completely clueless and a bad person, and hopefully he'll either be censured or kicked out or he'll resign. I hope that happens immediately. By the way, he said that in a town hall in front of his constituents. He was home in Ohio. He had a bunch of people in a room. People were
yeah.
recording it, and that's the shit he said.
The problem is, I think that somebody else had said it before, somebody from the government in Israel, and when
Yeah.
nothing is done about it, another person is going to feel free to do the same thing, and so people are like coming out with this really racist stuff, and since there are no consequences to what they're saying and doing, the next person who wants to say this stuff feels free to do so. I think that's they should start like holding people accountable for what they say.
I agree. That's a horrible thing to say.
Yeah.
So there's somebody in the comments, just I think pro-Israel, Daganos, I think it is. So, and drink a beer if you're going to come back in. I hope you do. I'll bring you up. Daganos, come on up and talk. We want to hear your point of view. I know you're active in the comments, which is great. I always like to hear opposing points of view. I get criticized all the time for quote unquote, giving a panel or giving a forum to people who are Zionist. But that's just my way of doing it. I enjoy the discourse, and I don't want to make people think that because I do it that way that I have some sort of sympathy towards or some split allegiances to. I'm firmly in the camp of supporting Palestine liberation. Always will be. Nothing will change that unless Israel changes its behavior. That's the only thing that will change that view. If they start doing things in a respectable manner, I will compliment them for that. They have never done that for 75 years, as best I can tell. So that analysis continues. Okay, Federico, what would you like to share today? Go on.
I think 777 was ahead of me. I don't know.
Did you speak at 777? I forgot.
Yeah, I had asked a question earlier. I wanted
That's
to
what I thought.
follow. I
Yeah.
wanted
So
to
yeah,
follow up
Federico.
with you at some point, but
Yeah, I'll
that,
take you next after
yeah,
Federico.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, Federico, what's up?
Yeah, how you doing, Chip? Yeah, I
I'm
heard
good.
that lady saying about the fighter jet flying over Lebanon, over Beirut. Not true. I don't know why would she say something like that. And even if they did, I don't think they would want to because they know the big H in Lebanon has. Last time they tried, they used an anti-aircraft, and it's not a joke to fly low over Beirut.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and did you see the videos I sent you yesterday? The both
I did.
videos.
That's what I was referring to earlier when I said I watched some content about Lebanon. It was excellent. So thank you for
Yeah,
sending.
my purpose of that is to show you how the pro-Israeli video show their people that their enemy is nothing. It's they don't show them what reality is, and the other video shows more of an
Let me mute myself. Sorry, I'm making this noise. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, and the other video shows what is really it, and unless the other side sees the reality, it's gonna be tough for them to get it. And about the last aid that the United States passed for Israel, I don't think this is meant for Gaza. You're a military man, you know that all that, like the state that is Gaza in right now, it cannot take all these artilleries that they send. Like how you gonna drop them all and that. I think is their next step is Lebanon, and they are giving Benjamin Netanyahu to cover the mess up that he did in Gaza with a victory in Lebanon, which would be the dumbest thing they ever do to themselves. But I do believe firmly that he's gonna shift attention from Gaza to southern Lebanon because they have a big problem in the north with all these settlements that are empty. Everybody's out, and the settlers are not accepting the idea to go back home unless the state of Israel does something about it. And I'll be honest with you, nobody wishes war on his country. But I tell you, I wish they try to start something with a big H in Lebanon because hellfire is gonna stand up from all the excess of resistance from Iraq, from Yemen, from Syria, or they have in mind something because yesterday there was a meeting between all the Palestinian resistance leaders in Iran. And if you guys saw it on TV or not, they actually rolled the red carpet, like the leaders of the H group in Gaza and the Palestinians. They walked on a red carpet, like when they welcomes head of states or something. And so I think either Israel is gonna do something, attack Iranian in Iran, or they're gonna go after South Lebanon. Netanyahu and in general the Israeli population needs a victory to show. They want to show that they have accomplished something. And if that war ends without them accomplishing anything, that is a defeat to the image, the state, and the military of the so-called Israeli state.
I don't know if anybody saw the host of Saturday Night Live. I don't watch the show, but I saw a recap. And the host said something about freeing the people of Palestine, and the crowd just went crazy. I was like, holy smokes. And he also said, freedom for the hostages, which I think is equally important. So, and they applauded that too. So yeah, that's everybody wants to see, everybody except for the most hard-hearted people and just die-hard allegiances to Israel because they're just blinded by loyalty. Want to see Palestinian be free? They want to see Palestine be free, for God's sakes. It's the only way there's going to be peace. Why not just make something that happens? It's the most sensible thing in the world. And the only reason it's not happening, obviously, is because one side does not want it to be there. They want to keep marginalizing, keep squeezing, keep taking, keep subjugating, keep exploiting, keep unaliving. It goes on down the line. And that's just what the behavior indicates. So there have been major efforts in the past where Palestinian leaders either proposed deals that were very reasonable or tried to look at deals offered by the Israelis, but just couldn't take them because, like I say, there was a catch shit sandwich. And no one's going to want you to catch shit sandwich. Not you, not them, not anybody. Okay, Drink a Beer's here. Drink a Beer's probably dying to talk. I apologize for all the craziness. How you doing?
Hi, how's it going? I want to say
Okay.
first, happy Easter to everyone. Happy Ramadan.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd like to ask you a
Can
question.
you speak up just a little bit? It's maybe a little hard to hear you.
Do you hear me now? Is it better now?
A little bit, yeah.
Yes, so first, like I said, happy Easter to everyone. Happy Ramadan to everyone. And I wanted to ask you a question, Chip.
Sure.
So I was just curious, how do you wash your white suit? Do you dry clean it or do you...
So that's another one. That's a referral to like racism or something like that. So that's just listen. If you want to come up and talk about the issues related to the conflict, great. If you want to come up and tag people personally, go write it on a bathroom wall or something like that. I couldn't figure out why Chip kept telling us to drink a beer was the guest. Okay, Dagnos, you want to come up? Let me invite Dagnos up.
Real quick, just before he does, just for
Yeah,
the
go
sake
ahead.
of discourse a little bit, I had asked you earlier about what you would like to see for the future, and you mentioned an immediate ceasefire and getting relief to Gaza, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
What I didn't hear you talk about, and I'm equally curious about, is what you think Palestinian Authority in Gaza might look like in the future, and whether Hamas, in your mind, will still play a part in that. Would you like them to play a part in that? I'm just curious what that looks like for you.
Wow. Okay, let me try to think. Again, this is all supposition because I can't predict what will happen. I don't think that the entirety of the Hamas group is going to be eliminated. Obviously, it's impossible to do. It's a terrible task. No military on earth could do what they're saying they're trying to do. So, it's a fool's errand. They will still exist as a militant group, so they're going to be underground some degree. I don't know exactly what's going to happen next. I know the Israelis will not put up with a solution that involves Hamas being in charge. If that's the case, if the people are going to try to maintain them politically, they're going to annex the territory and try to occupy and slowly squeeze it. That's my guess on that, because that's what they do. But if they are willing to come up with a solution where it involves more of the PA, they might have some sort of mixed authority like they do now in the West Bank, which is my best guess that if they're willing to go that route and have new elections or have some sort of new appointment of authority, then that it would involve something like that with the presence of the H group doing whatever it does to fire rockets with responses like we've been seeing forever. That's my best guess.
So to be clear, in your mind, there's no good solution in terms of making permanent strides towards getting rid of Hamas and the Palestinian Authority and the West Bank having authority in Gaza would be the most likely outcome.
Well, really, the decisions are made mostly in the hands of the Israelis and the Americans. So they're gonna draw the line at what they're willing to accept. And again, if there's going to be peace, there's going to have to be some concessions, including releasing the hostages and having some sort of resolution with regard to how power is going to be distributed. I don't think that Israel is going to accept, as a conclusion to this, a status quo of a Hamas government. They're going to try to change the essential authority, which will displace the administrative arm of Hamas. But it's not going to get rid of the militants. They're still going to be there. They're still going to want to fire rockets and do whatever else they can. They'll probably try to make raids. If there are going to be occupying soldiers, they will raid up through the tunnels and do what they do and go back and forth. Then the Israelis will bomb the structures in South Gaza. It's just, this is how it's always been. And barring some permanent solution, which would ideally be the Israelis withdrawing all of the territory in the West Bank, which they're not going to do, and giving the Palestinians a separate state, or having a one-state solution where everybody has equal rights under the law, which would shake up the entire ethno-state concept. I don't think either of those will happen. And so the pragmatic analysis is some sort of fragmented administrative structure with more skirmishes taking place and just same old process while Israel continues to annex more territory with the backing of the US. Now, the one thing that could come to play is if the entire world starts to sanction Israel economically, won't do trade with them, won't buy their stuff, etc., won't support people buying their bonds. That could really hurt Israel like it did to South Africa. So I think that's gaining steam. And I don't know how far that will take, and that's a wild card. And the other thing that's really a wild card, and this is a biggie, and this is one that no one can predict, but I think we're seeing the underpinnings of this, like, a wave. You see that when the tide goes out, when the tsunami comes crashing in. I feel that's going on militarily. The U.S. is really, really, really moving troops and equipment into outside of Taiwan. They're provoking Russia through Ukraine. Everyone's starting to get involved. I just feel like something's about to break out on a big scale. And I think that's going to be absolutely bonkers. And if you don't understand the nuclear element of this, that's the big part of this, that I think the U.S., I don't understand our leaders. You're dealing with nations that have a large component. The Russians have what's called the triad. And that means they have submarines, they have land-based stuff, and they have space-based stuff. And they're not going to be able to be deterred. So the U.S. is poking the eye of a very well-armed foe cavalierly. I don't understand the logic behind it. And these may be just people that are power hungry and don't have any other way of thinking. They're neocons. And they just don't, they think that US has such supremacy that no one can beat us. And I think there's no winning any kind of exchange like that. And that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. I think as an American, and I know that you're a veteran, I heard you mention that like the first time I ever joined one of your lives. I think something that I think about a lot is I hear people come up and talk about Hezbollah, or sorry, I can't say that, right? Or
You can. It's okay. I don't care.
Hezbollah and Hamas and all these groups that are essentially Iranian sub, whatever. And I wonder if that coalition is a real threat to the United States. I wonder if, you had mentioned Hamas will continue to exist. I agree with you. I think it's unrealistic to say that Hamas is going to be completely eliminated in this conflict. It's not realistic at all. And so I wonder what that future looks like. And I know that people are going to think this is like critical, but I am curious if you consider these groups to be a threat in any way, shape, or form, or if you think that these are. Yeah, I'll let you.
Well, Frederico's going to wait in a second. I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and then I'll let Federico, and then we have to let Nidal and True come in. Okay, real quick response to that. The biggest threat that underpins all of this. This is the reason why all of these grumblings are taking place. It has nothing to do with just like the military alliances, although they're real. It has everything to do with the shifting tides of control of the international finance system and of commerce. Because at the end of the day, that's why the militaries exist, for geostrategic positioning vis-a-vis resources and economic control and routes of trade, like shipping lanes, et cetera. So why do I say that? They're the BRICS nations. And if you don't know, they're like 36 nations that have applied for new membership coming up in 2024. So the entire international finance system, which was controlled by the US for decades, they had complete hegemony militarily and financially across the entire globe nearly, except for a few rogue states that they would periodically either depose or invade or whatever, try to subvert the government so they could get in and do more of the same. And who does it benefit? The oligarchy, the transnational sociopathic serial accumulator class, as I like to call them. So this is where all the jockeying. Somebody said in the comments the USA is definitely not provoking Russia. The entire Ukraine war and the expansion of NATO towards the Russian border is a provocation of Russia. If you haven't studied John Mearsheimer's work, professor from the University of Chicago, just type his name into YouTube and just watch some damn videos and learn, please, because the propaganda that comes out of the US State Department and the US media is absolute cotton candy bullshit. And it's like eating cotton candy for 6 months and wondering why you just gained 30 pounds and your teeth are coming out, if you believe that bullshit. So just do some reading and watching some videos, man. Expand your mind, it'll challenge your views. Okay, Federico, what do you think?
All right. What I think, remember yesterday somebody was mentioning the report that John Kennedy, before he was elected president, he read when he was in the Senate. I don't have that, but if 777 would read that, would understand something about it. 777, the only problem that the United States have in the Middle East is its support to the unconditional support of the state of Israel, which is, it's not a normal state. It's a state where it's been since the declaration of the formation of the Israeli state. It's been committing all kind of atrocity on all neighboring country next to it. Versus, I tell you from a guy that I was born in the Middle East and I was raised in the Western world. I was raised between Europe and the United States. Everybody in the Middle East wants to put a Nike hat, wants to wear a T-shirt with the USA written on it. The symbol of the USA, as it's been known always, is the ultimate human right and freedom and prosperity. Now, all these symbols that the United States stands for, it was, how do you say, it was damaged by the unconditional support to Israel in the Middle East and the greed of the big corporation. Now, if these countries, your question was if these groups are any threat to United States. Nobody is gonna come from the Middle East and come to the United States to conquer America. Even if they would, even if they wanted, nobody would support them. And I tell you, right now the American bases in the Middle East are in jeopardy. Yes, there are sitting targets. It's not like before. Now all these resistance group, they have advanced weapons. It means when you're sitting somewhere, you're a target. You don't know when you're gonna be attacked. You don't know the time. You don't know the date. You don't know the nothing. So you're sitting there and you are a target. I believe if the United States stop taking sides and be a loyal, what do you say, a fair judge, it would have none of the trouble that it's having right now, neither economically. Like it would not have to, because you have to be only the United States to come to the Middle East and ask for whatever you want, and you will get it for your economics. But by supporting the state of Israel, it's making, instead of making the people that have the resources friends, it's making them enemy. It doesn't matter if you put president of a country. Let me give you an example. Jordan, they have peace agreement with Israel. That is the government. But I have 99% of the people don't want that agreement because it wasn't fair and Israel is not behaving like a normal state. Same with Egypt. If you go to the government has a peace process with them. But if you go to the streets and you ask the people, 99% of the people would tell you, no, we don't want that deal. So, and the time of these puppet leaders, that's what we call them, puppet leaders, is gone. Now, what happened is when you deal with the resistance group, that means you are dealing with the will of the people. And like I said, if the United States does not be fair as a judge, then yeah, every American interest in the Middle East is in jeopardy.
But yeah, so I appreciate your perspective. I understand your response. I would say objectively, and this is going to piss a lot of people off in the comments, but objectively, the United States relationship, to my understanding, with Israel has been symbiotic. And we do benefit as a nation from our relationship with Israel. It's not without reason. And secondly, I would say that you had mentioned that the United States is not a target of any of these resistance groups, as I think they were described, but the United States absolutely has been. The Yemeni Houthis striked against United States military bases in the Middle
They
East
re- you
against
want to
United
say
States
they
soldiers.
retaliated. They
Re-
retaliated.
okay, they
They, yeah,
retaliated against United
yeah.
States military bases in the Middle East. So I hear you, and I don't think they would come into mainland America. I agree with that, but as we have many troops abroad, I think that there is still a risk to the U.S. Considering their relationship right now with the Middle
So,
East. And so
what would you think? What would you think
Can I
if
ask him something?
Israel? Just one second, True. What would you think if the Israeli government is doing the American bidding in the Middle East? That's what you say. That's the interest. So, what do you think is best for you to profit more? To go straight to the source or have a middleman? Which one is more profitable to you if you're making a business deal?
yeah, see, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. When I say a
I mean,
symbiotic
because it's
relationship with
all.
Israel, I know that like we, for like biopharma, for example, receive like a lot of, we have a deep relationship with the biopharmacist state within Israel. So that's more what I'm talking about. I don't know what resources
Yeah,
you're
well,
discussing.
natural resources. The second thing, you know that all these projects that are in Israel are funded by the American government, developed by the American government in the United States, then moved to the Israeli state so they can claim. There is a lot of stuff that are illegal here in the United States, but in Israel, nothing is illegal. Like, let's say they want to do a test on a human, on a human. The United States cannot do it, but Israel can take it, put you in a room, hide everything, and do all the process and give you the information. If this is the one you're talking about, then do you think it's fair that Palestinians are subject to testing of weapons, medicines, and all that stuff? Do you think it's that doesn't turn the Palestinian not only to victims of genocide and but again to guinea pigs?
I don't personally believe that the United States is testing weapons on civilians. I
Then
think that I don't.
Okay, I got to jump in and let somebody else talk real quick. Absolutely, the U.S. arms manufacturers directly test their weapons during incursions into Gaza. That's been reported over and over and over again. So all new weapon systems that are fire tested on ranges, the first time they're deployed in actual combat in real life situations is in Gaza. That's just a fact. Okay, let's get on to I think it was Nidal, then True. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Nidal, and then True.
Hey, how you doing? I got in the middle of the conversation and I catch a couple of things. One thing I was listening to when we were talking about the age group. So this is the issue. All the resistance groups exist in the Middle East and the West Bank and Gaza. Every single one of them, it was a reason or because of the occupation happened on that land. There was no existing resisting groups before the creating of Israel. Not one group in the whole area. The Palestinian people didn't even have an army to fight anybody before the existing of Israel. So everything you're seeing right now is the result of the occupation of that land. This is one part of if we're going to blame this group or that group about anything. The other thing I want to talk about is the solution for the whole situation is very simple and easy. If the police officer or the chief of the police who hire himself to be protecting or calling himself protecting the world, if he decide to follow the international law, that situation in the Middle East, it will be done and end in 24 hours if the United States of America acting like the real police who actually serving the community and serving the humanity around the world. But unfortunately, we're dealing with corrupted police officer. He's doing everything wrong to benefit out of what situation is going on there. and that's the biggest thing. Why we have problems up there. That's why we have people doing what they do and the craziness. It's going on right there. So I'm gonna put it this way: you cannot came to a person. You took everything from him, everything he have, his humanity, his natural life, his normal life, and you put him in like the worst situation a human being could be. Then you come to start blaming him as he was a normal human being. If there is laws and somebody break the law, okay. But if you deal with him outside the law and you do all the damage and all the unaliving and all the torture and all the craziness, you put somebody in that type of life, and then you blame him for what he doing. I don't know who's the crazy person on this subject.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's hard to imagine what it's even like to live like that. I've thought about that a lot, especially what's been happening since October the 8th. It's just unimaginable. But even going back years ago, I mean, this is what got me so involved in this conflict. And people who support Israel just can't, I guess, can't understand what motivates somebody like me. I think it's money. When I learned about this back in 1989, I was just like outraged. I was like, what? I had no clue. And so the more that I've watched it, yes, there have been counterattacks by people who are trying to seek liberation when the political process is a dead end. I don't like that, but I understand why people lash out because they're just dead end. But if you watch the Israeli response and how it chooses to manage its security, quote unquote, it does way more in terms of torturing, oppressing, unaliving. There's so many things Israel does that's not necessary for security, while the population is told that everybody who's harmed by Israel was a T word. And it's just not true. Not many people are radicalized. They just aren't. They're just like your people. And some people don't support the Netanyahu government. A lot of people don't support any radical activity. But they do want freedom. They want autonomy. They want dignity. They want to be free from humiliation and control and subjugation and occupation, as would anyone.
And I just wanna mention one more thing. During the 75 years of occupation of the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem, the Israel, they really didn't offer the Palestinian anything like a real deal for anything, even to give them a citizenship of Israel or their own country, like nothing. They just deal with them like they are like some extra people. We don't know what to do with them.
Let's get True's response. What do you think, True? Any ideas?
Yes, I'm just curious. 777. Imagine if someone comes and occupies your land. Would you lift arms and fight for your country? Because that's what the H group in Palestine and the H group in Lebanon are doing. And if Iran is helping them with weapons, well, someone needs to help them because they got to defend their country. We help people that we don't agree with weapons. I live in the United States. So that's what puzzles me is when people start blaming Iran for helping people to defend themselves in their own country. It's not like they're coming to another country and invading it. They're protecting their own land. They're fighting in their own country. So they have the right to defend themselves. Israel does not have the right to defend itself because they're occupiers, not the occupied. That's what puzzles me when people always say, well, the only solution there is, it's got to be one state solution. They got to get rid of this racism and hatred and give everyone a citizenship and everyone the right to vote and everyone to run for office in that country. It should not be just a Jewish state because that's ridiculous. It should be open to everyone that lives in that land and belongs to that land. And the people that are settlers that coming from other countries, they need to leave that land and bring back the original settlers, the people that actually have passports to Palestine.
Okay, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I just want to say a couple things in response to that. The first thing is that, to my understanding, there are many Arabs who live within Israel and do have equal rights as citizens. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you asked me if I would defend myself if someone attacked the United States. And I think in most of these conversations I've heard, everybody is very focused on the past. I came in here to talk to Chip about what the future looks like, and you said Israel doesn't have the right to defend itself. I guess what I'm confused about is we're at where we're at. This is what the land looks like today. Geographically, it's been split up the way it has. The powers that be have remained for, almost a century now. How do you move forward? Are you looking for a complete eradication of an entire state? I mean, you said a one-state solution. I don't know what that looks like. I'm genuinely asking somebody to give me a picture for how you get to that in a way that is somewhat, I don't know if, peaceful. I would say peaceful. So those are my two questions.
That's what I said. It's the only way. It's one state solution. You got to dismantle the government of Israel, because the government of Israel, they don't want any solutions. They are basically wiping out the Palestinians completely. They don't want the word Palestine in Palestine. Basically, they just want to wipe that name off the map. I mean, the way they're doing it right now, if people don't see it, they must be blind.
Do you think that's realistic to remove the government of Israel at this point?
They have to dismantle it. I didn't say remove them.
They did it to Germany. They did it to South Africa.
I mean, why can't they? And the only people that can actually dismantle that government is the United States. If we stop supplying them with the weapons that they are using, we can be able to stop it. Why can't we stop it? But the problem is we've got these lobbyists in this country that are paying everyone to vote for this stuff. That is the problem we have. We have all those senates and the people in the House are paid by lobbyists, by the AIPAC are just taking control of our people in the Senate and the House, and even our president. And I mean, he waves his finger. What's that mean? Nothing. If he waves his finger and still supplies them with weapons, it means nothing. I mean, what is he saying? That I'm warning you, but here's a bomb, drop it? I mean, that's ridiculous.
So can I just
No, I'll let you in 1 second. I promise. Yeah, I'm happy to hear your view. If you have a name in your TikTok name that says something disparaging, that's really really disgusting, like Palestine is eating my excrement or Israel, I can't bring you up. You have to come in on a different account, or sorry, you're not welcome here. I got to be fair. I can't be doing that stuff to anybody. It's kind of in bad taste. Okay, who was going to jump in? Please jump in.
sorry, I just wanted to say, to answer his first question, 777, because he was asking about Arabs that live in Israel, and no, they don't have the same rights as Jewish Israelis. Okay, they've got different rights. They're second-class citizens, basically. And the point the situation is at right now is like, I think it's beyond anybody's ability to predict what comes next, because Israel is determined to expand and has been ever since conception, and they've done things in such a way, like on purpose, so that the land is so divided that it's very difficult to have a separate Palestinian state. The only option is to have one country where everybody is living together in peace, and that's virtually impossible right now, because Israel has been brainwashing their citizens to the point that they think they're the victims, and they absolutely hate anything that's Arab. If you listen to some of the stuff their like representatives have to say, and the people say about Arabs, about anybody who's not a Jew, like that it's okay to kill them because they're not Jewish, they're not entitled to be alive, or that if they do live, they should be servants to the Jews. And you've got an entire population thinking that way. And so, like, this is why, even if
Is
they
it
were,
TW? Can I jump in for a second? I'm sorry. I want to be
yeah,
fair though. I want to say that in a way, I appreciate your point of view. I do disagree with what you just said in this regard. I think there's a sense of supremacy and looking down upon the other who's non-Jewish. We've seen
yeah,
people spit on Christians. We've seen people calling for the death of Arabs and second Nakba. But
yeah,
those aren't the regular everyday people. Those are extremists, like we have the Westboro Baptist Church here in America, et cetera. But as I'll just tell you
yeah,
what journalist, real quick. I'll just tell you what journalist from Haaretz said. We all know who this person is. He said that the unspoken truth about the state of Israel is that most people, he didn't say exactly how many, have this
Yeah.
underlying sense of superiority and disregard for Arabs. That's what he said. So that's not me. That's Gideon Levy of Haaretz. Okay, please
Yeah.
continue, TW.
Yeah, so they definitely look down on Arabs and on like whoever is not Jewish in general. And so like how do you create a country and expect these people to give equal rights to anybody who's not Jewish? So I think like even if the world was to force them to accept to form a single country and to try to give other people their like equal rights, it's going to be very difficult for them to live together, and there's going to be like civil trouble all the time. So I don't know what other solution there could be, but I think personally, I think a two-state solution would be much better. And if they just get rid of the settlements that they were not supposed to build in the first place and give Palestinians back the land that they'd agreed on in 1967, and then both of them, like the two populations, can have their own space, and it'll be a lot less trouble than if you try to form a single country. But then that's just me. You don't
I think those are excellent points, except for the pragmatism part, which obviously, here's what I think, and again, people may disagree. As long as the U.S. maintains its military, political, weaponry, and money behind Israel, it's going to require a severing of that particular connection. It's probably only going to be done, in my estimation, I hate to say it, either through economic collapse, military intervention, world war, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because anyway, they like the reason Israel was created in the first place was because they wanted like a pro-Western government, a country in the Middle East, right? And so they're unlikely to want to sever ties with them unless something happens, like you said. It's really sad what's going on. Really, it amazes me how low human beings can sink. Like I mean, killing kids and torturing people, and I thought we were through with that after World War II. It's
Yeah. I think, is it okay if we let Roland Dharma come in? I think that's the name.
thanks.
Please stick around.
Happy
TW,
Easter.
your points are incredible. That's great. Yes, Roland, how are you?
Hey, Chip, how you doing, man?
Doing okay, thanks.
Your dog is a very lucky dog. You work hard
She's
to
fun.
keep that dog
Her
happy.
name is Ruby. She's a 4-year-old coonhound, and she couldn't be more sweet.
Yeah, she has a good time joining the lives here. Hey, Ruby. I wanted to do some vet-to-vet armchair quarterbacking about 6 months now. Gaza, the IDF's supposed primary objective was to, get rid of the H group. But we're looking at 6 months now, and they still haven't located or extracted the hostages. And to me, from my military experience, that is an embarrassing, shameful situation that they're in. These hostages should have been extracted by now, especially with the reputation that the IDF supposedly has. If that were the United States, I read, Gaza is what, 140 square miles, and in 6 months they haven't been able to locate and extract the hostages. That is super bananas stupid, and it's shameful that the IDF can't do that. To
Well,
me, it's clear.
can I
Go
share
ahead.
a quick thing? This is fair, okay? And I don't know how much you're aware of how the tunnel system works, how it's built. It's incredibly well built, and in fact, they have air seals. A lot of the tunnel entrances are buried under 3 or 4 feet of dirt, so the Israelis can't even find the entrances. So
Hmm.
it's an incredibly difficult enemy to fight, and they have a very sophisticated set of sensors and lock doors. In case they flood the tunnels, they can lock off certain sections. It's amazing engineering. So I give whoever built that ship credit. If I was trying to engineer a solution to take up this thing, you'd have to lose 20, 30, 40,000 soldiers to do it.
Yeah, well, it seems to me this should be, they should put special ops troops on the ground and swarm the area, use their surveillance and
Oh,
intelligence, and find these entrances and go and root them out like they tried to do in Vietnam with the tunnel rats, you know?
Yeah, it's very easy to say, but in terms of political pragmatism, here's the other thing. If you have remember, every time the U.S. had people coming back from Vietnam, it was 58,000 plus human beings. And it was shown on the daily news and all the body bags and all the coffins. This incites a population that's already angry at the Netanyahu government. They know full well that if they have thousands and thousands of casualties coming back, they're not going to remain in government. There's going to be total outrage. So, and they're also outraged about their civilians. So it's a no-win situation for the Netanyahu government and the IDF. It's just a very precarious type of war to try to fight, and it's a no-win situation. They're going to have a political solution. It's the only way out of this for them.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. I hear that. The other point I wanted to come up
Well,
with
can I
is
let me say one more thing? Somebody in the
sure.
comments is sort of being critical that I'm giving them an excuse. I'd also like to say along with that many of their soldiers who are reserves are not the kind of soldiers that are hardened like the H group. So their ability to do the things, even if they could, would be hampered by that reality. So I don't think the IDF is as effective as they claim to be because of the fact that most of their troops are sort of secondhand reservists that don't know jack shit about combat. Go
All
ahead.
right. Exactly. Um, at, I'm looking ahead at what kind of uh, options we have as the world, as we're kind of circling the wagons on Israel right now. What do you think about, in the past, the UN has put peacekeeping troops in situations like this. What do you think it would take, and what's your thoughts on us eventually putting peacekeeping troops in? You know,
Well, I think the U.S. has lost all credibility in any kind of negotiation. They're too partisan. They're too tied at the hip. No one's going to listen to them. And so
right?
that's out. As far as the UN goes, the U.S. is providing a block on the veto. The way it's structured is that the 5 permanent members can veto anything, and it doesn't make it through the council. So nothing is going to be binding. The resolutions that do get through are non-binding, like the recent, resolutions, which is meaningless. It has to have teeth. So the Americans, if they're going to influence this, I don't know if the government will change it, but I don't think Trump's going to change if he gets elected and we have Biden or whoever his replacement is. That's not going to change. It's going to be one of the two, right? So Palestinians are stuck in this very difficult situation at every turn, and it's the same predicament. However, if a world war kicks off, all bets are off. And in a
Yeah,
way, I know somebody said it earlier, I think Federico said this, is that, well, he doesn't want to see his countrymen or his brethren die. In a way, whatever would happen to Israel, I kind of feel this. I don't want to say this because I don't want to be mean spirited, but because of how the hubris and the arrogance and the dismissiveness and just just all that put together into one big pie, it's like the bully at the schoolyard. I almost want one of the little kids to come up and just knock the guy out with a right hook. That's kind of how
right.
I feel. And it's the same kind of sentiment.
Likewise, I feel. And just let me make a comment to 777 before I step back here. You had said the implication is that what's going to happen to the Jews in Israel if we're working towards a one-state solution, a truly peaceful one-state solution, and it's not, the unaliving all the Jews there. It's the dismantlement of the Zionist system, the systemic system of racism, the ethno-state, which is completely unlawful and is really a danger to Jews around the world, which it incites anti-Semitism. It's very clear to anybody paying attention. So no,
Exactly.
just like what happened to the Yahtzee regime and the South African apartheid regime, these things will be examined through, hopefully, I'd like to see truth and reconciliation commissions, and they dismantle Zionism, and Israel becomes like a truly democratic state and shares land side by side with the Palestinian people, like they have done for hundreds of years prior to the inception of the Zionist state. All right, I'll step back.
If somebody in the comments said to Dagonos, I think it's Maddie 5906, and again, I'm just providing a context. Maddie's statement is that someone like myself who follows Scott Ritter's work and Colonel Douglas McGregor is listening to what they refer to as Russian propagandists. So I invite anybody, just see for yourself what you think. I mean, we all have our own impressions. If you think the comments and analysis by former UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter is somehow influenced as being Russian propaganda, or Colonel Douglas McGregor, if either of their work is Russian propaganda, I would imagine they also add in John Mearsheimer, who has a very similar analysis. These are geopolitical analysts that I've trusted for a long time, not just during this conflict, but others in Ukraine and before. And I think they have good objective analysis as best they can. And they try to do it. They're all Americans. They're not trying to besmirch their country. They want to see America first, and they want to see American citizens benefit. Some things benefit the United States state apparatus, meaning the permanent establishment, the neocons, the oligarchy, the corporate state, that don't benefit the citizenry. And I would argue that Israel is a prime example where we have a very strong and undue influence from an extremely small subset of our population, and of course internationally as well, that has tremendous control over of U.S. policy through Washington, through lobbying groups and influence through wealth and power. And I think that's indisputable. You can try to put conspiracy to it, but it just is what it is. And so for right now, that's what's influencing U.S. policy. And these people point to that and say, hey, this is not benefiting the average American because we could be in a world war and potentially in a nuclear conflict because of this small subset of people pushing people in the wrong spots that we shouldn't be pushing because it only benefits a small subset for their interest only. That's what I'm against.
I'll push back on that for a second and
Go
ask.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that I read recently that the Qatari government is actually now funneling more money into the United States government through lobbying, and so than Israel. And so I am curious when you say that there's this like undue influence from such a small group into U.S. government. I mean, I
All
think
right, so two quick questions for you. There's two resources that I'm imagining you may not have seen, but I don't want to assume. There's a documentary called Occupation of the American Mind. Have you watched that?
I have not.
Okay. Have you read a book by the same John Mearsheimer called The Israel Lobby?
I've never even heard of John Mearsheimer.
Okay, so here's my gentle nudge. I hope you won't take it the wrong way, but I don't know how you do your information gathering and incorporating things into your whatever you do. I try to read one book a week is my goal. So if you want to read those things, I think after looking at those resources, you'd have a hard time repeating the arguments that you just made about Qatar.
Okay, fair enough. Always open to new resources.
Yeah, I think you'll be very, very much, it'll counter the things that you just shared in a way that I think might shift your view. Okay, is Morocco, I think, who's the next? Was it Morocco that hadn't come in yet? Morocco of Israel?
How?
Hey, welcome. How you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm good. I want to thank, first of all, the United States of America who's supporting Morocco and Israel at the same time because they have an interest also in the Maghreb, in the Moroccan, North Africa, very important for the United States. The last week, Mr. Biden support Israel for $3 billion, more than F-35 jets, 20 pieces, and more than 3,000 missiles. That's very important for this time.
I'm sorry to interrupt the chat. I have to go dark on my screen for a second, so I'm still here listening, but my screen's going to be dark, okay? Just want to let you know that, okay? Just nobody gets scared. Okay, and I can't manage guests for about the next 10 minutes. I'll just be quietly listening. Thank you very much. I need to take a little break. Go ahead, Morocco.
Okay, the 30, more than a decade of supporting Israel. It's really amazing by the United States of America. We really appreciate that. And Donald Trump, if I understand, well, is coming back soon, in November, I think. So it's very important also. And regarding the Arab world, if we talk about the 2.2 billion Muslims in the world, I have a lot of Muslim friends. As a Moroccan Jew, who is very close to the Kingdom of Morocco in Rabat, my best friends are Muslims. I have a big respect between us, huge respect. And we are very happy that Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Bahrain, Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Egypt, Jordan, and Abraham Agreement decided with Morocco, of course, to have an amazing relationship, peace relationship. It's more than 75% of the Muslim countries in the world. So this is a fact. This is a This is the, how do you say, the reality. That the Muslim world very close to Israel, to the state of Israel. In the same time, I agree with you that it's a very bad war. It's not easy war. Don't forget that in October 7, if the age group had the power, they will unalive more than 7 million Jewish and more than 3 million Muslims. They really don't care. But because they didn't have the power, and we found the documents, the intelligence found the documents in the tunnels, the blood tunnels that have been digging by the 15, 13, 14 years old. It's using it's like a blood diamonds. You know what's a blood diamond in Africa? I call it blood tunnels. They use teenagers to dig 760 kilometers under the Israeli houses, Jewish, Christians, Muslims, whatever. They unalive more than 50 Muslims and one Christian guy, very cute guy from Africa, from Tanzania. His name is Joshua, 21 years old, who lost his life by this crazy age group, this T group, who put 7 bars on his head, in his body. And I don't want to go in details, but I have the 3 videos with me. Anyway, I heard here some people are talking about Yazi, Schmittler, those crazy people that comparing Israel to try to survive for the last 75 years from 1948. And it's very sad that you don't understand that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's mean that unalive the Israeli state. You understand that or not? From the river to the sea, the Jewish have to leave the country or they have to live under the Palestinian flag. It's not going to happen. The Israelis will stay forever, stronger, faster, smarter, forever.
Yeah.
And hopefully, for me, I would like to have 2 states for the Palestinians and for Israel, but the Palestinians have to put down the weapon. They don't need a weapon for the next 200 years.
Hey, maybe the
Like in
Morocco
Qatar.
regime is for you guys, but we are Moroccans as people. We're not for you guys. We're not with you guys. You guys are criminals. We don't support you guys. I when I was a kid, man, we had Jewish people, in Morocco. I mean, they were cool, I mean, we didn't have any problems, But now what we've been seeing and what we're seeing in Palestine, you guys, yes, I am Moroccan.
تتهضر
I'm from
بالعربية؟
كنهضر بالعربية وأنا
أنت
مغربي
منين حبيبي؟ أنت منين في
من
المغرب؟
مكناس
منين؟
I'm from
مكناسي.
Meknes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
English,
it's
English,
in
please,
English.
guys. You
Yeah.
both
Even
speak English.
if it's in English,
Maybe
but
hold on. Maybe the Morocco regime, the king and those corrupt government would be good with you guys, But we don't support Israel, man. You guys are criminals. You're supposed to go back to Morocco. What the heck are you doing in there? You used to live in Al-Millah. Do you know Al-Millah? If you know Meknes,
إحنا
Al-Millah
ولاد
القديم.
الملح.
Okay, Al-Millah القديم, Al-Millah الجديد. That's what you're supposed to be, man. Why are you going to a land that is not yours?
Because we are in our state, الدولة
That is
اليهودية
not.
إسرائيلية في
No, that's
في
not. That's not your
في
state.
الأرض
That's not
some
your
of them
state, man.
came
Your
back
state is
already.
Morocco, man. The Muslim people, man. When we came from Andalus, nowadays Spain, you guys came with us to Morocco, We protect you guys, And now you
Yeah,
go
but
into
he's not
Palestine,
Jew. He's
unalive.
not Jew, brother. He's
I'm
not
not
Jew.
Jew. I'm Muslim, man.
He's
But
not
I'm not.
Jew. He's not Jew. He's a Zionist. That's difference, brother. أخي, فرق. There is a difference. There is a difference between Zionist and a Jew. We have no problem
Man,
with
all
Jews.
of them. Hold on, man. I mean, in Morocco, in Morocco, man. When we used to
wrong.
live with, there is no. You see, Jewish or Zionist for me is the same thing,
Exactly.
Do you know
No,
if
no,
Muhammad
no,
Jalal,
no,
if you
no,
look at
no. This is
Talmud, man, if you see, we are going for them, We are animals for them. We are
That's
subhumans.
No,
They
no, no,
Guys,
no,
no
consider
no.
us as
religion.
so we
subhuman.
No
understand.
Yes, you
religion,
consider
please.
us guys as subhumans. You know.
Yeah,
And you
that's
consider,
true.
you
Don't
consider, and you
don't talk about the
consider the Jew,
Moroccan people, man. You know we've been
and you are
we've been in
considering the Jewish,
manifestation.
you are
No,
saying the Jews is kafirin, وخنزيرين.
No, no, no,
no,
no,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no.
انت
You're
وضحاب
so
بالشربوط انت السبب
صهيونيين
انت
صهيونيين
وضحبها انت
انت اللي
الصهيونية.
ولد
خلاص
القحبة، انت
ضربوا
يا اللي ولد
بمكنز
No, no,
القحبة.
no, 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 no. We
نحوي
don't
بمكنة
offend each other. We don't offend each other.
Yeah,
نحوي
That's
بمكنة
he's
نشوف
that's
كنت
not the way.
بعدها
That's not the way.
قالت يا
yeah,
لو
We
he's
can
saying bad
debunk
words
them. We
because
can
I'm telling
debunk
him,
them
yeah,
respectfully. Respectfully, we can debunk
yeah,
them,
you
and
guys
we
are,
can.
yeah,
Yeah,
this guy, hey Chip, this guy is saying bad words, man. You know, you need to drop him.
exactly, exactly,
You
exactly.
know,
You
yeah,
just
these
I
like
said
people,
you are
say
man, are
2
very
minutes.
unrespectful. You know what I'm saying? These
you are
people
a
are very
traitor. I said
unrespectful.
that you are a traitor. You are a
Yeah, you should
traitor.
go back to Meknes, man. You should go back to
What?
Fes in Morocco, man. Don't
You are
where
my
you're
neighbor.
ashamed
You are
that
my
you have the
neighbor.
Moroccan flag
He's
in your on your profile, man.
You are my neighbor. You know we're neighbors.
Can you all just real quick? I want to make sure we keep this orderly. So here's the thing I like to do. So this person, Morocco, is making the argument that he believes that Israel should stay where it is and it should be stronger and safer, and that the path to the future is to put down the arms of the resistance and somehow formulate peace. Here's a fair question for you, Morocco. So if you were in the shoes of the Palestinian people and you have sincerely tried to pursue paths of peace over the years, even though your adversaries have claimed you haven't. But you and
Yeah.
your leaders have both put forth, things that they think they could do, and the offers that have been offered to your people that have been claimed to be great really weren't, such that they made the pursuit of peace impossible for you, while at the same time further acquiring more territory that you perceive to be yours and not theirs, even though they're claiming it's theirs. What would you recommend somebody do to politically work your way out of that particular paradigm?
It's a great question. Very smart question, sir. You talk about the future, yeah? Very smart question. You're a very smart person. Everybody blaming everybody. Look what the Moroccans said. We are not human beings. He's calling us kafirin. You know what's kafirin باللغة العربية in Arabic? It means that we are not, God is not with us. Just a moment. The solution for me and the Israeli state, trust me, and the Jewish community worldwide.
Morocco.
Let
You're
me
the one
finish. You
who
ask
was.
me a question. Can you mute him, please? Can you mute him, please?
I did. Just want to add. There's another question I want to ask you. You said I appreciate the compliment. In terms of your beliefs, though, if you're not Jewish, how did you come to embrace the state of Israel, which most people who are non-Jewish tend to be critical of
No,
Israel?
why are you saying I'm not Jewish?
Oh, I didn't know you were or not. I thought somebody said you weren't.
Shalom Aleichem v'malachei Hashem Shema Yisrael Adonai Elokeinu Adonai Echad.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get. I didn't mean
There
to make an
is there
assumption.
is Jewish people in Morocco. There
Yes,
is.
I'm
I'm
familiar.
Moroccan. Listen, I'm a Moroccan Jew Zionist.
Got it.
99% of the Jewish community in the world, 99% of the Jewish community are Zionists. You need to understand what's going on here. They have nothing against the Palestinians. The Palestinian kids and my kids and your kids are the same kids.
Mhm.
We are not looking for war, but we need a solution, sir. If you want a solution, I have some contact in the White House. Trust me, I'm telling you. Trust me. The only solution that we need today, the Palestinians put down the weapon.
Chip, can I
We make,
answer him, please?
Yeah. Okay.
just a
Real
moment.
quick.
We're
Okay.
gonna
Yeah,
make it
Yeah.
two states,
yeah, yeah.
Israel and Palestinian states, with a
Okay.
huge respect for the next. They're gonna be the most beautiful states in the world, like Dubai.
Okay. So you're so hold on. Let me finish.
Hey Chip, this guy should
One sec. So here's a fair question to ask again, and we're going to let one of the other respondents come back at that. I understand your vision is for peace, no more weapons, and you want to have some kind of an establishment. I think everybody wants an establishment of something. But here's the challenge. We have the fragmentation of the land within the West Bank, which has been settled pretty aggressively over the last several decades, continues to be settled aggressively, even more so recently. And we have Gaza, which has been turned into basically rubble in the north, and it continues to sort of take that course towards the central and south. With all those things going on, what is the foundation to create this entity if there were to be a laying down of arms? And how practical is it for somebody who's been trying to stop the slow but steady dispossession that's occurred not only originally but subsequent to that? How can they possibly accept some sort of mini little fragmented Bantustan / little strip, half strip, and with somebody else ruling over them and controlling every part of their lives as a reasonable outcome to something that they're trying to fight against. How can you possibly, if you were in those situations, would you accept that? I think that's pretty hard to ask somebody to accept. Let's let Mohammed come in, and then we'll let the other person come in at the bottom. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah, thanks, Chief, for giving me a chance to answer this. I've been with him in another live, pro-Palestinian live, and he was threatening people, basically saying he got the power, and I know who you are, and but that's kind of stuff, you know, trying to intimidate people. But no one is scared of you. You need to understand this. Plus, he's even himself after Moroccan, and he's not talking by the Moroccan people. Moroccan people, they are far away honest from him, far away from him. There is a Jewish community in Morocco living for centuries. That's not a problem. We never had any problem. Morocco is an example of multicultural, multi-religion, living all together under the same law, the same rights, and they've been living there at least for a century, and we have no problem with it. But he will come up here and say he talking by Moroccan people on the name of Moroccan people and behaving in that way. That's not acceptable. There's many Moroccans. I mean, majority of them, they are pro-Palestinian because 95% of Morocco is Muslim, and you can't be Muslim and you can and you be anti-Palestinian. You'll be crazy. That's not real. I mean, it's not even imaginable. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So for him here and to talk by the name of Moroccan and start behaving as a Zionist, you are a Zionist. Be proud of it. Be as you are, but leave alone Moroccan people. You are Moroccan by nationality. Nothing else. If you got a nationality, Moroccan nationality, nothing else. So don't get us involved in in Zionism. Zionism is in Israel. Many Jewish people living in Israel, they came back to Morocco living in peace, and no one told them anything. No one tell them anything because they have a right exactly as other Moroccans, Muslims, Christians. They have their synagogue, they have their business. No one never ever give them any sort of oppression wherever. Plus, he was talking about. I didn't write down the point he was making about, but he was. I mean, the way he talks is really intimidating. And the other guy who was trying to intervene, he was Moroccan, and I understand Moroccan. I understand Arabic, and he was not offending him. He started provoking him to offend. You know what I mean? Just to get him angry. You know what I mean? I did intervene. I mean, you were in break off screen. So I'm trying to, to calm them down both. But I know this guy. He's just, going any pro-Palestinian live or pro-Palestinian life. He can be even neutral. He doesn't make a point. He just start threatening people, in a mafia way or something. But you're not scaring anyone. People know you already. I mean, that's all I need to say. Thank you very much, Chip, for giving me a chance to speak.
You're welcome. Real quick, before anybody goes next, this has to end in about 8 minutes because I'm traveling to be with a family member for dinner. So I apologize. I know a lot of people want to continue. I do too. I want to just quickly let the audience know what I want to do is I'm going to have to go dark again and I'm going to mute myself, but I want each person on the panel. We have Nidal, Federico, Roland, and Morocco is going to be first. Please take about 2 minutes each and then let the next person go. If you can just time yourselves, I won't be able to do it. So just be fair. I tried to give Federico moderator privileges, but I couldn't do it from the panel. So what I want to say is I go live every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday is 7 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. So please follow me and keep that on your mind. I'll happy to have you as a guest if you want to come up. I'm fair to everybody. And then on Saturdays I go from 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern. A lot of times I go longer and then I have impromptu ones like today. So I wanted to thank everybody for being here, by the way. And come on back. I mean, we have great conversations. People get mad at me for giving people like the previous person a platform. I don't look at it that way because I think people sometimes can speak themselves into a particular corner into which we can share some things that are kind of an opposing view and the audience can decide. I think that's a good way to do it. I disagree with
Thank
what
you,
the
Chip.
person said. Yeah, I disagree with what the person said, by the way, because I think no one would want to accept the current situation as a practical outcome to this. And the more that they don't do anything, the worse it gets. So why wouldn't you try something? The people who were in the Warsaw Ghetto had the same thought process, even though the context was drastically different. People under occupation, under oppression, don't like it. And therefore they want to change it, which is normal human behavior. And an occupying power, remember, has no right to defend itself because it's controlling the other. They have a right to break out from it, but you can't claim self-defense. Okay, I'm going to go dark. Thank you for being here, everybody. I'll see you in about 8 minutes when we get there.
All right, guys. I'm Yusuf. You just came here. I'm Yusuf.
السلام عليكم أخي.
عليكم السلام.
لفت نظري والله الموضوع اللي بتحكوا فيه يعني الأمور صعبة جدا يعني بصراحة يعني إنه في أشخاص بيحكوا على الناس الملكومة الناس المظلومة الناس اللي ما إلهاش ذنب ولا في أي شيء. يعني إحنا فقدنا أولادنا فقدنا أخواتنا غير ذلك يعني كمان ولا أي شيء من مقومات الحياة متوفر لنا. يعني أنت تفرج إحنا في شهر رمضان الكريم يعني أنا بلف 10 لفات وميت ترجعي لما أوفر
I was gonna tell her, Chip, you're muted. I'll let her know.
This person wasn't here when we started doing that, so whoever brought that person up. Guys, if anybody does want to do translation of Arabic, do 1 or 2 sentences, pause, and let somebody who's doing the translation do it, and we'll go back and forth. Otherwise, it gets too crazy. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Chip, thank you so much. I was just replying to that Moroccan Jew who was, I was just on the bottom listening, and I saw that he was like representing all the Moroccan people. You know what I'm saying?
We
I was
know
kind
that
of
he
offended.
doesn't. We know.
I was kind of offended, man, because we are pro-Palestine, especially what they're doing right now. They're like offending, they're like unaliving kids and bombing hospitals, churches, universities. That's kind of barbaric, man. We cannot stand for that.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
that
we
guy
lived
was.
with Jews for a long time, man. I mean, we protected them. They had the same right as all Moroccans. Even nowadays, they still have their cemetery in Morocco, man. And nobody,
They
see
have it
what
in
they're doing.
Gaza too. They have it in
Yeah,
Gaza too.
yeah.
They
See
have a
what they're
cemetery.
doing in Gaza, man. They're like destroying cemeteries, man. Dead people. They can't even leave dead people alone, man.
But anyway, Morocco. This
That's
guy.
despicable.
This guy. Everybody knows him on every lives he goes. Everyone knows him.
And he was
So
cussing me out, man, telling me ولد القحبة ولد كذا.
yeah, I heard
He
that.
thought I was the Morocco. I mean, he can talk about the regime, the Morocco regime. I don't care because, look Mohammed Morsi. He said we're not gonna leave Gaza alone. Look what they did to him. They replaced him with Sisi.
You
And the
see why you
Morocco
need
regime, if he's against the Israelis, man, they will overthrow the regime, and that's it. Look what they did to
you heard
Saddam
him.
Hussein. Look,
He was proud to come here and speak in the Moroccan people name. But
no, he doesn't.
came
He
out.
does
Yeah,
not
yeah.
represent
I
Moroccan
know,
people,
I
man.
know. But you came out and you made them look like.
Yeah, and that's why I took the mic, man. I mean, I
Sorry,
never,
Yeah.
I'm always, I'm a listener, I like to listen and comment, But when he was telling people that he was a Moroccan, I kind of was offended, man.
That's all right. Listen,
Well,
we have
anyways, I
four
thank you
more
guys so
minutes.
much,
Yeah,
and
thank you. 4 more
yeah,
minutes
he's
we have.
very disrespectful, anyways.
Thanks for calling him
Thank you
out,
so
man.
much, man.
Free Palestine, buddy. Rolling.
I just wanted to thank the mods and Chip for bringing me up. I don't really have any parting words, but free Palestine, and let's keep going and dispelling this Hasbara.
Thanks, buddy. Mohammed Muhammad is. I want to mention one thing, that the reason why they don't want peace is demographically it doesn't work out for them, because even if there is a complete peace between the Palestinians and the Israeli, let's say hypothetically, like they make peace, they make an agreement, and they do one state solution. The Israeli puts the weapons down, the Palestinians put the weapons down. Demographically, in 50 years, they will become a minority again. I mean, they're surrounded with so many Arabs about them, and we know culturally, out of 10 Israeli women would marry a Palestinian guy, but between the and a Palestinian girl, for her to marry a Jewish guy, it will be 1 in 10. And count up 50 years from now, it would be majority, even if they kept the name Israel, the majority in the Knesset will be Palestinians, so it will suppress their voice. And although that means all they did in all this time was done for nothing. So that is one of the reasons where I don't think the Zionist entity would make peace, because demographically they will be wiped out. Anyway, I think we're out of time. Thank you very much, Chip, if you want to close it up. Appreciate everyone. Muhammad, you want to say anything? I guess Muhammad is gone. All right, guys.
Did you want to still talk, Muhammad, or no? You don't have to if you don't want to. I can talk for a little bit. Looks like nobody else is requesting. So, can everybody hear me okay? Can somebody just verify you can hear me? I had to take a little break there. Okay, if we're done, I want to let everybody know that this is recorded, so it's going to be uploaded to my YouTube and my Rumble channel. So if you want to listen in, if you came in late, or just check it out, the way to get to that, I have a link in my bio. It says Linktree Chip Barnes. So just click on that. If you're outside the United States, the thing you need to type into your web browser to get there is in my bio. It's written in there, Linktree Chip Barnes. So thanks for being here, everybody. I will be live again at least on Wednesday from 7 to 9 Eastern. I really appreciate everybody being here. It was fun. I'll see you on the flip side. Thanks for moderators too, by the way. I appreciate you.